All right, let's get this show started.
Rock and roll.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to what I believe is episode 5 already. That means 5 whole weeks
Still
of
on the air.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Haven't been canceled yet.
if we could be canceled, we might have been, but thankfully,
Because we demanded it.
yeah, back by unpopular demand.
That's basically it.
Oh, well, thanks everybody for showing up. I know there was some potential uncertainty this week due to the death in my family, but I'm not gonna let something silly like that keep me down. We're gonna.
I think what you're doing is healthy, man. I think you've been handling this well.
Well, that's just because I keep all of my crying and self-loathing off of social media, which is really weird for somebody my age and this time of
Right.
this day and age. But no, I think that doing the fun things, and believe it or not, this is fun for me, is really
And interactive.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So
I totally agree. When you mentioned posting stuff on social media, I was just thinking about what it would look like if previous generations of young people had been on the internet, right?
oh
Facebook in the 80s is just all Depeche Mode songs, right?
yeah, no, one of my favorite memes that floats around ever is it's somebody posted something that was in 1987, somebody says, "Oh look, I found a picture of my grandpa," and it's this black and white, pristine, old-timey photo. And then they were in 2037, somebody's like, "Oh look, I found a picture of my grandpa," and it's somebody's selfie, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That meme goes so many different ways, and it's fantastic every time because the amount of just access to cameras and recording and so on and
Right.
so forth is going to drastically change the way we look back at things.
I totally agree. Unfortunately, they're going to have a much more accurate view of reality than we might want them to have.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing because I think of I'm old enough to remember when the History Channel was actually the History Channel, and the Learning Channel was
Yeah.
actually the Learning Channel. And I remember the History Channel got the ratings it did because it eventually became what I used to jokingly call the Hitlery Channel, because they would just run they would run Hitler documentaries 24/7, and people were really interested in it because he's a naturally interesting figure in history. And all I can think of now is can you imagine if Hitler had social media and had access to all of these things, and how much more in depth you could dive into it? The History Channel would have never got out of that phase, right? Now they do things like Vikings and all sorts of stuff, but it would just be,
Right.
Do you remember that time Hitler tweeted once at 2 a.m., "I hate Rosie
It's funny you
O'Donnell"?
mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, I know.
They're perfectly good people on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thing just because there are so many people that are just so willing to come forward to that information, and I'm right in that boat. I can't obviously be judgy or anything like that. It's just a unique time.
You know what I was thinking too, because I was actually talking to Sandra just recently about the death of actual learning and actual history on those channels, and how they got replaced with I'm white trash and I'm gonna go dig through some garbage and get what collectibles I can find. I think that what happened is in the 90s, those were we had a satellite dish in the 90s, and we got the Learning Channel, and it was super compartmentalized. It's if you had enough money to buy access to this channel, you probably went to college, and so you probably are looking for a certain kind of content. I think once the Learning Channel went onto basic cable, or when we all got access to the 900 channels, you do what everybody who wants to make money does, which is kind of cater to the lowest common denominator. And there's probably a lot more people who want to watch American Pickers than there are people who want to watch, an in-depth documentary about Himmler.
You know, there might be some truth to that. For me, I would like to know the actual history of the network, because part of me wonders, and I don't know this, right? This is entirely speculation, but part of me wonders if those channels either started from some sort of grant or funding and then the grant ran out, or if they started as smaller media companies that were then later bought out by somebody, because there is something else to be said about, like, you know, when ratings starts to matter, right? And ratings obviously matter more to mega companies and things like that, and you know, those things that are not like, you know, Bill Nye the Science Guy, for example, are going to drive ratings so much more.
Right.
But I'd be curious to know if they were the result of you know, grants or things, because I've worked in nonprofit, and I can tell you that I've been in projects where they were, you know, grant funded, and then the minute that the grant ran out, you radically changed what the project did because you were no longer under those constraints. And that might not even be like, you know, we didn't change it because we were, like, you know, greedy or anything, right? We were a nonprofit. It was just we had to abide by those guidelines in order to keep receiving the funding, and the minute it's gone, like...
No, that's a good point. That is a good point. And I definitely feel you on that. I mean, as somebody who works for a nonprofit as well.
I mean, it's the same thing with news stuff too. Not that this is like TESL Legends related, but we'll make that segue in a second. You know, news channels. You know, I remember in my youth they were like really straightforward because, again, like ratings weren't the thing, right? Like advertising wasn't what the driving force was behind it, and it's very clear now that is the case. I almost wonder what news would look like if you weren't ever allowed to make money off of it, right? Like, if...
It would look like PBS.
Well, maybe.
Actual news. I don't know. What's the show? God, there used to be two old guys on PBS who had the News Hour with Lehrer and...
Is it that every PBS show, though? Like... Yeah,
that's true. But it was... Jim Lehrer was one of the two guys, and he's the only one I think who's still left from that. And he might not even be around anymore. But I remember that show, like in history class in high school, having to watch that show because our teacher was like, you know, this is where you're going to get actual news because they don't give a shit about the ratings.
Yeah, that's fair. Or like C-SPAN, right? Like where it's just like raw, uncut, like fall asleep to TV.
You know, C-SPAN was pretty exciting a couple weeks ago. I was literally watching C-SPAN like on the edge of my seat, waiting for McCain to vote on the healthcare bill.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't have its moments. I just mean, like, that's also what real news looks like.
Well, that was its only moment, actually, in its 30-year history. So
to circle this around, there were there were some bits of news in the Legends community this week. We got a new type of gauntlet that was announced, and we were also teased with the fact that there will be other new gauntlet modes coming this year. So that's kind of exciting.
Nice internet detective work getting that out of
Solid Edge. Yeah, the downside though is like I 100% expected, this is my fault, right? Like I 100% expected people to read the tweets and see the context, so I made a super clickbaity title, and then people did not see the context, and then he had to come in and clarify. And so that was me putting my faith in like reading comprehension, which I know better in this day and age. But the reason it's a problem is because now I'm afraid AJ won't give me bits of news. But like it was meant to be a joke. I was expecting people to go, oh, haha, and then they were like, no, they really expected game modes when it was very clearly talking about gauntlet mode.
Right. No, I hear you. No, I'm excited about this. I think this just one new gauntlet mode is exciting. The fact that he alluded to there being more new gauntlet modes is fantastic, and I think they've gotten a pretty cool one to kick off the series of new ones.
Yeah, to me it's interesting, right? Like, I'm happy just to see like anything new, just because it gets me out of my comfort zone. Sure. Yeah. But like the timing of this one feels weird. For me, I would have liked to have seen this one release like shortly after the Heroes of Skyrim expansion, when you were
Okay.
likely, like we had just had mobile release, and then you did the E3 announcement, and you got all those people coming in. It would have been, I think, the
Yeah.
right time to potentially target the new players. So
Yeah, I could
like
agree with that.
that
Yeah.
would have felt like a better transition of, hey, you know, we get it. You don't have a complete collection. Do this.
Right.
Whereas I think at that time instead, wasn't it that like when we had like the super competitive alt art javelin one, it felt like
Yeah.
these should have been flip flopped, you know?
Yeah, I think the week before Heroes of Skyrim release, we had the one with the leaderboard, the epic gauntlet, and then like 2 weeks later we had the alternate art one. Zombie Hunter in chat writes, I'm a little surprised at how many people are upset with the Popper format. I agree. I was shocked actually about how negative my Twitter feed was. I guess I should preface that by saying I'm not shocked in general that my Twitter feed is negative, because that's just sort of how people are. But I was pretty shocked that anybody was not excited about this, because I mean it's a totally new format, right? Like there's some decks that translate pretty well into an all common format, but it's an opportunity to play with all sorts of cards that you don't play with a lot. And I thought that was the sort of thing that a lot of people who play the game because they love the game would be excited to see.
Well, so I will represent the other side of that argument.
Yeah.
Is it true that we get to play with cards we probably wouldn't have played with before? Yes. But is that necessarily more fun? I don't know if the answer to that is yes, because a lot of the things that I would consider to be fun are some of the best interactions, some of the best like ways to take advantage of this game's mechanics over others, for example, because like let's be honest, Legends has some pretty unique mechanics in it, and that's what makes it stand out. Those cards, in all honesty, just don't exist very much in commons. So while you are forcing somebody out of their comfort zone, just because it's limited doesn't mean it's necessarily more fun, because I don't get to play Altar of Despair, and I don't get to do things like look at all the cards that trigger when you break a rune. Like runes are integral to Legends, right?
Yeah.
So
that's true.
So like we'll still have, you know, commons that are your prophecies and whatever, but like I'm never gonna get my Dawnstar Healers, my Hafinger Marauders, my Ulfric's Housecarls, like that's even true. Eastmarch Crusader is a rare, right? So like almost all of the Nordic synergies are out the window almost immediately. I know a lot of people on Reddit, for example, were like, well, we're just gonna see a bunch of orcs, but the truth is like,
yeah, orcs you can't do orcs.
No, like all of the worthwhile orcs are like rares.
Yeah.
Now, if it was in the past, people have done like homegrown pauper, and for that, people have said commons and rares, just because there was enough in rares to support deck archetypes. But for me, like, you know, there's just not a lot that are strictly in commons. Like even if you say like I want to build a shout deck, right? Because shouts are commons. The Greybeard is a common and Wordwall is common, right? Let's just say I'm going to take that. That's 12 cards. So that's like one fifth of your deck, and then you still have to like cram it full of a bunch of other stuff with no way to like, you know, force that synergy out. So again, I can understand many of the arguments for the people who are saying like it's not fun, just because I mean, yes, it's a different and it's a limited card pool, but it does also limit the number of potential like interactions. Yeah,
let's keep it 100 here though, right? Like the direction you want to go with this is a prophecy deck running red cards, right?
I mean that looks pretty straightforward. You and I were talking before we went live on the broadcast that you know, you said prophecy battle mage and I said prophecy archer. But both of those are heavy prophecy decks featuring red.
And with super secret tech card Dark Harvester.
Well, yours was running Harvester, mine wasn't.
That's what I expect to see a lot of. Justin's a little loud in real life, actually. It's just carrying over into this nickname. By the way, shout out to CBH and Riri Barker. Good to see you both here.
I found out it's Ray Ray, and I also felt bad for slaughtering it for so long. I'm probably quiet because I am not talking toward the mic. I keep turning my head like this and down because I am naturally submissive in life. I am a beta male.
And I'm a top, so this is how this works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had to assert yourself in prison, and
I did actually.
I say thank you, sir. May I have another to every officer I meet so that I don't go to prison.
Let me tell you a quick story about that, actually. So the guy in the cell next to me, he's never getting out. So I have no problem using his prison nickname. Dude's name was Congo, right? And I was close to his cellmate, right? Who is getting out, so I'm not gonna use his name. But so he was doing life plus life plus life, and so he had a private industry job where he would sew shirts all day. So he was making like $6 an hour or whatever that they could get away with paying him, and so he had enough money to buy drugs. So he was always high. And one time he invites me into his cell. He's like, "Hey man, come hang out." And I got to tell you this real quick. One time we were playing poker, and he called me Lil Congo, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm like Zaire." And he looks at me, and this is like when I first got to prison. He's like, "We're gonna be cool, right?" We were friends from that day since. But anyway, he invites me into a cell, and he offers me some mamba, some spice, that fake weed stuff. He's like, "Hey man, why don't you take some of this?" And of course, like, I'm not stupid. I know this means that, like, first of all, he wants to have sex with me, and second of all, like, this is bad. I should get out of the cell immediately. And I was like, "No, it's cool, man." He's like, "When are you gonna let me hit that?" and I was like, and I had like, half a second to come up with a great reason why he wasn't going to have sex with me for the next several years while I was there with him. And so what I said to him was, "I'm sorry, man, but I got somebody waiting for me on the outside, and it's important to me." And he looks at me like for a second. He's like, "I respect that."
Wow, that's so funny.
He never tried to have sex with me again.
I was gonna say, maybe I'm not cut out for it, but that was not the excuse. Like when you said I had half a second, in my head I immediately went, "You can do it as soon as my anal warts stop flaring up."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I need something permanent. I need something that he is not gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I got a fun story related to the word Congo. When I was like 12 years old, the movie Congo was one of my favorite movies. I probably watched it like 30 times.
Yeah, man, gorillas with laser beams.
Right?
Like,
Who doesn't want gorillas and lasers? Amy, good gorilla.
Yeah. Right.
We need more gorillas in Legends.
I don't know if there are any gorillas in Elder Scrolls.
There should be.
Are there?
Well, why not?
Probably are. Yeah. So anyway, about that popper gauntlet. Look, I'm oh man, Maricon's here too now.
Welcome, Maricon. We want gorillas and preferably one named Congo and
Savage Ogre exists. Fire Drake points out. It's a good point. So we were talking a little bit before we started about like what a control deck would look like in Pauper. Like we both kind of fooled around with it.
Yeah.
Because you have access to a couple reasonable looking guard creatures, especially in purple. Do you see like what do you see as a good way to run control, or do you think it's possible in this gauntlet?
I'm not convinced that you can in this gauntlet. I think that you can run tempo, and I think you can run mid range with some support like removal tools. But like first of all, pretty much all your AoE is out the window, right? Even Firestorm is a rare. Immolating Blast is epic. Ice Storm is epic. Dawn's Wrath is a legendary. Like the list goes on and on. Even some of your better spot removal is rare or above. So realistically, you're looking at it's probably some sort of like mid-range mage where you can take advantage of things like Firebolt, Cunning Ally for more Firebolt, Lightning Bolt, Piercing Javelin, Execute, right? Like you can do a controlling-ish mage package, and then you're not going to have like mage traditional finishers, so you're going to have to just rely on like some of the mid-range threats, in my opinion. Other than that, you might be also like I toyed with the idea of maybe doing some sort of Crusader package, because Red has some decent pings. You get Skaven Pyromancer and things like that.
I was definitely looking at Skaven Pyromancer.
You definitely get access to Piercing Javelin still if you go with Crusader, but you also have Fell the Mighty. I question actually how many cards you're going to see that are 4 attack and above, but again, like if you're trying to do something controlling-ish, I think that those might be the way to go. But yeah, like I expect to see either mid-range decks. Like I said, I expect mid-range mage to be pretty big. I think mid-range sorcerer has a decent list available, and then the rest is going to likely be aggressive prophecy heavy decks.
I agree. I was looking at like a lot of the dragon. There are cheap dragon synergy cards, I think, right? Aren't those commons?
I mean, there are, but there's not a ton of common dragons, right? Like you get
Right.
Mystic
I think there's
Dragon.
one. I think there's one in each color.
It does. I don't even think Agility has a common one because Sheer Point is a rare. Serpentine Stalker is a
I think it's
legendary.
Dova. Isn't Dova of the Voice?
Oh yeah, I guess I always forget that that one's a thing. Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, Dova of the Voice might not be a terrible like mid-range finisher type card with additional value. Yeah, and I was gonna say CVH. I was looking at East Empire Crafter because I was looking at Cave Bear, and the Orc with the alternate art that costs 4. So I was definitely looking at those as well.
Um, yeah, I think East Empire certainly has enough. Just because a lot of the tools that you would traditionally use to go through guards are obviously not available. I think that Shield Breaker has a chance to shine, even after the nerf, just because it's one of those things. Because there's just not a lot of silence effects, right?
Right. I think it's just the 2/2 with Prophecy in purple.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
there's.
maybe Bone Bow. Is Bone Bow common?
I think that's a rare. I might be wrong.
Wow.
I thought
Okay.
it was a rare.
That's what's up. Yeah, I know that for me, I'm gonna do at least 4 runs because that's what you need for the leaderboard. I'm looking at playing a Prophecy Battle Mage deck. I'm looking at playing Warrior mid range, Sorcerer mid range, and then I really want to play Mono Purple because like it's just sort of a hobby of mine. But I was crestfallen today to discover that Gloomwraith is not a common.
It is not a common, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, there are some interesting things that I've seen some people mention. Things like Action Mage, just because something like Crystal Tower Crafter, for example, actually might shine in this because of the lack of ways to remove it early. I'm not saying that there aren't still like fire bolts and whatever, but like you don't have to worry about being Earthbone Spinnered in this format, right? So
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like let's look at it like casting cost by casting cost, right? I'm gonna pull up the client here real fast. See if we can identify some of the most powerful cards at like 1 Magicka, at 2 Magicka. Okay, that'd be interesting. See what we're working with here. Anybody who's out there who isn't familiar with legendsdex.com, I highly recommend it. It's a great resource.
unless you're on mobile. Just kidding.
If
you're watching, I love you guys, but yeah, my phone and it do not play well.
So it's 0 commons we have, and what's playable here? Murkwater Goblin might be the best. Oh, Nord Firebrand.
Yeah, I mean, there's Nord Firebrand, right? Like it's
Yeah, that works.
It's time to fight.
It synergizes with cheap equipment. At the 1-drop slot, we got quite a bit of stuff going on here.
I think Brutal Ashlander could be really good if you're playing any sort of aggressive.
I agree. I think Brutal Ashlander could be an all-star. I think Black Retreat Builder might find its way into a non-existent control deck. I was looking at Crown Quartermaster for my Battle Mage list because the 2 red guards that get increased stats when you put equipment on them are both commons.
Yeah, and Steel Scimitar is also a common. That's fair.
Exactly. Yeah. Deathless Draugr, Deadly Draugr, both cards that were in early iterations of the Scout deck that I played like a year ago are reasonably powerful cards, although I don't know this is the meta for them. What else we got here? Drain Vitality, obviously really strong.
I said before the broadcast that I was leaning heavily towards seeing what Prophecy Archer could do. If you wanna save yourself some time, queue up like some Archer cards real quick, and then type the word Prophecy into the search, and it just auto completes itself.
Yeah. I ended up with 27 cards in the deck before I even started using my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the things, as you're kind of looking through the list for some more stuff to mention, one of the things that I said earlier in this week when I was live on stream that I was kind of excited for potentially in future gauntlets was the idea of us getting more cards. I really liked the gauntlet where we got
Yeah.
the alternate art javelins, but you know, I had said on stream that I think it would be really cool if at least once a month we actually had a round where we got new cards, right? So
Yeah.
like we get the monthly card, which is awesome, and it certainly shakes things up. And usually what happens is like for the first week after each month rolls over, the meta is like different because everybody wants to try the new card, right? So you get people playing the new card, you get people designing decks to beat the new card, and then you get people playing whatever their normal deck is or favorite deck is. And then after the first week, things kind of settle in for the second week. And in my head, I was thinking, you know, if we wanted to go on like a shorter cycle, what if we have like the monthly reward card be that, and then at the middle of each month, we always have a gauntlet that like just introduced a new card, right? Like you pay your entrance into the gauntlet. You know, your entrance fee gets you 3 copies of the card, and then if you miss out on that gauntlet, just like the monthly reward cards, you can craft them.
I like it.
Doesn't have to necessarily be an epic. They could do fun stuff like you have to build a deck with this card, or you know, build, I don't know, decks with these colors, or if it's a class card, I don't know. You don't even have to build with it. Just give us something new, and then that way you kind of have like that mini cycle occur again, right? Like a halfway point through the month, you get a bunch of people who want to try the next new card, and then there's like a week where everything settles down, and then start the cycle again, right? Because one of the things that people, you know, kind of complain about is that things, you know, feel stale. And like I get that, especially if you play the game a lot, right? Like you're putting in hours and hours and hours, and you're starting to see the same things over and over again. So just taking that kind of an opportunity to, one, shake things up would be cool, and two, I know that, well, I mean, I guess I don't know, but I suspect that the in-game economy is at some point going to need some additional ways to like siphon off gold, right? The Twitch drops thing is incredibly generous. Several people have said, you know, that they've got like thousands and thousands of gold and gems stored up for whatever the next expansion is. So, you know, if you had some sort of, you know, gauntlet mode that people wanted to at least have like one entrance in a month just to get some new cards, it might help siphon some of that off.
You know what would be an interesting gauntlet? I think this pairs with your idea pretty well. Submit a 47 card list, and you'll get, for entering into the gauntlet, 3 copies of one of like 5 new cards. Put into your deck. You play with it for the very first time on the gauntlet.
That could be interesting. I don't know if I don't know if that would go over well with a lot of people because you wouldn't have control over it. For me, like, I keep going back to, you and I have said several times that like Madhouse ultimately ends up being our favorite of the new card sets that ever came out, and so I was trying to think of ways that we could like repeat that lightning in a bottle. And so like imagine if, you know, obviously we can't have Altar again, right? But imagine if like, but Altar of Despair didn't exist, but it was introduced as a gauntlet card, and they said, hey, build a deck with this and go compete. Like, that would have been a lot of fun, right? So
that would have been great. Yeah. Oh, Kakolokianio writes, all Legends Gauntlet. I built a deck with 50 legendary cards with it, and I could not win a game. I had to pare it down to 39 before I was able to win any games. So I've tried that. You know, I want to give you a quick update on the list of cards that are common that look real strong in the, at the 2-drop slot. I'm really interested in Windkeep Spellsword. It's just, you know, stat stick. I think it's really interesting and really strong. I think this might be a format where if you're going big, you might want to try running the Forgotten Red-Headed Ramp Child, if you will. His speakers at common. Those are my 2 discoveries so far. And Reachman Shaman might not be terrible either.
Interesting. I think that like when it comes to the neutral cards, I think there are some things that obviously stand out. Like Crushing Blow is a common, Gristled Hide Drag is a common. That could be a nice.
Yep.
You know, Drawing Engine. It also should trigger with East Empire Crafter, which is pretty fantastic.
I agree. I was disappointed to see that flesh sculpture was not a common.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I was looking to cheese it just like it did the Creatureless Challenge.
Oh.
So, I think that the Pauper format, while it might not be what some of the real spiky competitive players are looking for, I think it's a cool indication that we're going to get some neat stuff in the future, right? Like this is a pretty straightforward one that's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to. And I'm curious what you think might be the next, like aside from the idea of introducing new cards, what's some more Gauntlet ideas are that you have that you might think we're going to see before the year's out?
Oh man. I mean, the beauty is that there's actually so many things that you could do just based on
Right.
things that already exist in the game, right? They could do a gauntlet mode where they say ahead of time these are going to be the special lanes. Go abuse it.
Yeah, I like that.
They could do a gauntlet mode where it's, you start with special supports in play, like everybody starts with a Wabajack. I mean, think Chaos Arena, right? Chaos Arena
Yeah.
has a ton of scenarios, so they could throw those at us. Even if you wanted to do something that was not like RNG or wacky, but still within the bounds, right? The next one could be monocolored, right? Just
That's what I was looking at, man. That's
know?
what I want to see. Yeah.
Go play a monocolored deck, right? Let the best ally win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the best ally is the blue one, but I think that mono blue. I'm really excited about the idea of a monocolored gauntlet mode.
So Maricon is clearing things up. For those of you who don't know, Maricon, Paul is one of the developers at Direwolf Digital. He's hanging out in chat.
Yeah.
He says there must be a misunderstanding. It's a paper format, not a pauper. To play, you need to print out your cards. So
Ooh,
I guess
this changes things.
I guess that means I'm ready to go, right? Because I've got some cards just raring to go here. These are actually on my desk hanging out because I'm waiting to get some frames. I'm gonna frame the sets and put them up, hang them up behind me, but
Nice.
I haven't picked up the frames yet. So I'm ready to go. I got some printed cards. I don't know about you guys. Gonna be the paper format champ.
I'm looking around at my desk here to see if I have anything comparable. I have an advertisement for the Dracula Ballet, which I bought tickets for.
The Dracula Ballet.
Yeah, that's about all the paper I have on here. That's cool though. Paper format would be neat. You know what? One of the things I want to just praise Legends here for a second though. One of the things that, and this holds true for Eternal, Direwolf's other digital card game. One of the things that's great about Legends is that they do things really well that you can't do in a paper game. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just like Hearthstone where it's like, hey, what if we include the word random, because you can't do that in person, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like Magic with a 20-sided dice like Hearthstone sometimes feels like.
Yeah.
This is, they do a really good job of making things interesting.
I mean, to Hearthstone's credit, I actually did like the Discover mechanic when that came out. I thought that was a good use of the digital format, but I do think that Direwolf does a much better job, both between Legends and Eternal.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first time that I saw like the Warcry mechanic, I thought like that's the perfect use of the digital format. And actually, the first time when I played Eternal and I realized that like buffs and silences followed cards between zones.
Yeah.
Right? Like something that was buffed in play was still buffed in the graveyard, and something that was silenced in play was still silenced in the graveyard. Like, it's such a simple thing, but like it just blew my mind, right? Like, it makes sense why that doesn't work that way in a paper card game, because then you're trying to keep track of too much stuff. But it also, in my mind, makes perfect sense why it works that way in a digital format, because it has the power to remember. Something so simple, but I was like, no, that like they nailed it. That's exactly what I want out of my digital formats.
I totally agree. You know, that reminds me of a thought I was having, right? I was wondering, maybe we should revisit, let's talk briefly about Praetorian Commander.
Sure.
I was thinking about this the other day. Praetorian Commander was everywhere when Heroes of Skyrim dropped, right? And now it's nowhere. And I think I miss it. I think I miss it. And I think I was wrong to ever want it nerfed.
You don't miss it. Let me start there.
Really? Am I just like looking back with rose-colored glasses?
Yeah, I think you are. Listen. I don't think that the card was inherently overly like powerful, and I didn't think that the card was as much of a problem. But I was a bit desensitized because I had played Eternal, and so I was
Right,
kind of
right.
like already like used to the mechanic. But I think that the primary difference between a game like this and a game like Eternal is that Eternal doesn't have prophecy. So
Right.
in a game like
That's true.
this, when you give like your entire deck a buff like that, and you know +1/+1 where it's at now, I think is fine, but the +2/+2
Yeah.
was like not exactly a marginal buff, right? So
Right.
in Eternal, you're saying, you know, I'm banking on my future draws, but in this game, like you had the potential to play Commander, and then if somebody swings in for like 6 and breaks 2 runes,
Hmm.
like you know, Commander's downfall was supposed to be that it was like a low tempo play because it didn't impact the board. But then if
Right.
somebody hit prophecies, it suddenly did immediately impact the board, right? And those were the times when it would change things. So while I don't think that the card was necessarily like oppressive is the word I would use, I do think that it created a scenario that was potentially unfun for new players and players at lower ranks. To me, I compare that nerf to the Divine Fervor nerf of old. I felt like Divine Fervor always was entirely fine at 4 Magicka.
Yeah.
When they nerfed it, I did not think that that was a power level thing, but I did understand that due to like ubiquity at lower ranks, that it was
Right.
probably a good move, and I feel like the Commander was very similar. And the reason I say that you probably don't miss it is because
Because I hate prophecy decks.
yes, you specifically, I think, don't miss it because I know that you,
Yeah.
just like who you are as a being, are pretty much
Yeah.
against any deck that runs more than say like 25 prophecies.
Yeah.
Um,
We're on the same page here.
yeah. So
Fair enough. Well, I'm glad. I thank you for setting me straight there.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Good looking at.
I think that you know if you played Eternal, then the mechanic of like buffing things in your deck or even like buffing every card in your deck, because Eternals had that since their core set, shouldn't really come
Yeah.
as a shock or a surprise. But again, I think that the big difference was just that, you know, in Eternal you play that and then you're hoping it to benefit on future draws, where in this game there was the potential of, you know, hey, I played Commander, it's my low tempo play, thanks mighty ally, you gave me 2 Mystic Dragons, now I win the game, right? Like,
That's true.
you know,
And they're
does
and
that
they're
happen?
8-8.
Does it happen every game? No, it's probably like once in every 200 games, but it doesn't matter. If it happens one time, it's going to be a Reddit thread, and that's the problem.
That's fair. That's fair. I wish. Yeah. No. I can totally get on board with that. The only time I played Praetorian Commander was in Altar Monk, where I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I'm now reflecting back on prophecy into prophecy into prophecy. Actually, I'm getting a little tighter on the collar here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray Barker makes an interesting point, saying he thought the issue was that once it was played, it couldn't be undone. Yeah, that's fair. Although, I mean, like, you can silence the stats away, I believe, right? Once it's on the board.
Yeah, once it's on the
buffed
board.
creature,
But
which is different than an Eternal, where silence effects don't affect the base stats.
right. But also, there's just not enough silence effects to do that over and over and over.
That's true. I think there's always going to be something like sort of, on that note, I know that in the past, like I've thought that, okay, there was a time when Belligerent Giant was played a lot more than it is now. Belligerent Giant, by the way, one of my favorite balance changes of all time. But Belligerent Giant destroying support cards, as a guy who was playing a lot of Ultra Despair back then, I was like, oh man, this card's such a barrier to fun. And I remember before that, I had the same feeling about Shadowfen Priest, doing the same kind of thing plus the silence effect. And there's always going to be something like that. And right now, I think we're at a time when there's less silence being played than there has been in a while.
I think that's mostly because of Earthbone's popularity dropping off.
Yeah.
I still think that Earthbone is one of the better cards in the game, just period, because of what it does and the stats it gives you, and like at the right time. But like Earthbone's dropped off, but Earthbone, in my opinion, dropped off a bit because the cards that were primary targets for Earthbone also fell off, right? Like Crystal Tower Crafter has like all but disappeared.
Breton Conjurer.
You know, Breton Conjurer's disappeared because Merrick disappeared. You know, nobody's playing. You know, Daring Cut Purse has all but disappeared just because now it's the werewolf, right? A 4/3 like guaranteed stats that can't go away is just generally better. And
yeah, I agree.
you know, if you're trying to use your Earthbone to go through Hive Defender, most people are just opting for like Shield Breaker or other things. So like Earthbone's kind of fallen off, which just means Silence like as a whole has fallen off. And then Soul Terror giving utility means that even Shadow Priests aren't necessarily, you know, a guaranteed 3 of. A lot of them are going down to 2.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too. I opened up this week the channel to I took a week off. I started grad school last week, and I got a promotion at work, and so I've been just like super busy. So I took a week off from the channel, and then to come back, I invited people to send me decks to play. Then I'd record with them, and the first 2 lists that I got were Scout decks, and both of them were only running 2 Shadowfen Priests, which I noted as I was playing them.
Yeah.
You know, I can't stop thinking about the monocolor Gauntlet. I want that so badly. Just like off the top of your head, what deck wins that #1 spot in that Gauntlet?
Well, so besides monocolor, there are some other ones that could pop up. So there is somebody in the community who is very much trying to make another game mode, popular, I guess. Popular might be the too strong a word, but he wants to get people playing a new game mode, and I think it's a cool game mode to potentially try. It's essentially like the Elder Dragon Highlander, but for this, right? 70 cards, a maximum of 1 card each. I think that could make for a fun gauntlet, even if it was just 50 cards instead of the full 70, but just a, you know, everything's unique style gauntlet mode. I think that could be fun.
I actually think that running 50 cards instead of 70 would increase diversity, right? Like at 70 cards, you're almost running every card in that color.
Yeah, well, in that class, sure, right? Like when you're forced to run 70, there is not a lot of like, well, I'm going to cut this to make room for this, because you're already being forced to play several suboptimal cards, you know? So I can understand that.
Yeah, I like the 50 idea a lot. I think that'd be fun. I think that you and I should record a challenge series featuring that format.
I think we should.
Yeah.
We should also potentially do some monocolored stuff at some point, just to show that mono red isn't the only monocolor.
I agree. And I can't, I'm shocked that chat is not into mono purple. Like, I took mono purple into the real Gauntlet and went 8 wins.
Yeah, but it's mono purple.
Yeah, like nobody's saying mono purple. Like, mono purple's great.
No,
I've hit legend with mono purple.
Mono purple is, look, purple's like one of my favorite colors just in life, and even I like feel icky at the thought of playing mono purple. I think that's just your stick at this point.
No, man, it's good. It's really good. Like I'm
like,
standing by it.
Like mono red, you at least get like some orc synergies and some aggressive stuff, right? Like mono green, you can run goblins all day long, and then like some lane movement stuff. Mono willpower, you can like run some token shenanigans. Mono blue is like all the direct damage and like cunning ally fun and Baron of Tear or Tear. I never know which one it is because they're both spelled the same way. But like mono purple's like play big things and then play more big things.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, that's what I want to do in this game, is play big things. That's why I played Ramp for 6 months before the channel got really boring. Yeah, Americon's got a good point. Mono blue gets Moment of Clarity and Unseen, stuff like that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You can cheese it like we do the Creatureless Challenge.
Yeah, there's this little known gem called Royal Sage that's in mono blue, and I hear that is entirely balanced and competitive, right?
Absolutely. I don't know if you know this. That card reads, if the player is Justin Larson, give your 1/1's breakthrough. And if it's played against Justin Larson, give your board ward, lethal, or drain, or guard, whichever is more convenient.
See, that's funny because for me, it's almost always the inevitable. If my opponent is at 4, give Royal Sage charge.
Yeah.
I've gotten so many like undeserving lethals from high rolling the 1 and 7 on that.
Well, I mean, I think I need to renegotiate my pact with Satan. Obviously, you have better terms than I did. I just got my charming good looks, and
well,
you win a lot of games.
I mean, you know, I get Royal Sage lethals, but like, you know, my parents are dying, so I don't know.
Man, I don't know what the appropriate response is to that, to be honest with you.
Oh, sorry, I have a very gallows sense of humor, so like I've already been making those kinds of jokes. Like I was saying to somebody else recently, I was like, man, I'm already one parent down. Like if I lose the other one, am I officially an orphan? Like, can you be an orphan in your 30s? Because I want to be like,
That's a good question.
Can I become Batman even though I'm not rich and in my 30s?
I would argue you actually are ripped and you are in your 30s, but like, that's a good question. I've been wondering about adopting someone who's 17 years old and 364 days, so that like I can be like, yeah, this is my son, but never actually have to do any parenting at all. Like except for that one day, I'll throw him an 18-year birthday party and kick him out of the house, and then I can be proud of him when he goes to college and stuff like that.
I got a feeling that if he's been in the system till 17 and 364, and then you adopt him and kick him out, that he's probably not going to college. I'm just throwing that out there, buddy.
He'll end up one of my clients at work, actually. Which will create this weird conflict of interest.
You'll be parenting him professionally.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But you know what? Sometimes you need to show that tough love. We'll see how that first couple minutes go. He has 24 hours to impress me as a son.
Yeah. No pressure, but you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah. I'll hand him a rose at the end of the evening and tell him that, congratulations, but it's just not going to work out.
Are you going to also hand him some fake weed and...
Some fake weed? What are we talking about?
Call him Mini Congo?
Oh, Jesus,
I mean,
no, dude.
You're giving him a rose.
That's true. That's true. I was thinking of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. That's how that works, right?
Oh.
It'd be The Sun. It'd be a reality TV show. I'd segue my success on the TV show, actually, into the presidency of the United States.
Oh.
Moving on. Let's... I think that the Highlander format actually is really cool. They're obviously... This is one of the small downsides of the digital format, right? Like you can't have like a commander like in Magic. Like it's not like you can be like, hey man, I could play Yara Balgruuf anytime I want to, which would be pretty sweet, obviously. But
I mean, but that's actually one of the benefits of the digital format, though, is that they could do something like that, right? Like,
right, of course.
It has to be like coded in as a format, but that's actually a pretty interesting thought there as well. If they were to ever introduce a new game mode, they could do something like that. Or do you remember Magic the Gathering a long time ago used to have a format like for their supported arena where like you would take a card, right? But it was like a big card. And it would like alter your starting health and hand but give you a continuous effect. Like one of them was like your starting hand was -2 and you started at like 12 health, but all your lands tapped for 2, and just like
I remember that.
Just weird stuff. And Vanguard, that's what it was.
Vanguard, that's right.
So
I do remember that.
So they could do like a Vanguard style thing or like a Commander style thing, and then when you go in, like you choose your avatar, right? Like and then whatever your avatar is would represent the thing you chose. So there'd be like a visual element. But then, like, in that format, it would just implement the rules. Like, that could be a cool Gauntlet mode, but that would be a cool, like, permanent mode as well.
That just gave me a great idea for a Gauntlet mode that I... Oh, man, I can't even say this without feeling like a complete idiot. But Gauntlet mode Race Wars, right?
All right, like, you need to...
Your avatar gives all creatures of that race +1/+1/+1 for that, or +1/+1 for that Gauntlet, right? We could finally get the Argonian army we all deserve.
I'm just going to throw this out there right now, but If that's ever a thing, I'm only playing Jarl decks so that I can build a wall to keep your race out.
Jesus, man, that got dark really fast.
You're the one who said race wars. I don't know what you were thinking.
I mean, I was talking about fictional lizards and stuff, man.
God,
Over
you slow pitched that.
Yeah, no, you're good, dude. Yeah, that would be funny though. Yeah, yeah, that would be sad. I feel like right now, like, there's so many Argonians I want to play, but without that Argonian lord, I'm just constantly suffering from reptile dysfunction.
You know, I'm the one with children. You're not allowed to make dad jokes.
I have a perfectly great young cat daughter.
Yeah, well, your kid's a pussy.
Oh man, yes she is actually. Yeah. Maricon says J-Star G and I did a race war thing. I played Bretons, he played Orcs. We could only use those races and actions.
Oh.
That's in Ian Bits writes, I assume you lost and promptly nerfed Atromancer. Oh my god. Is this the true story finally coming out?
Oh man, that's kind of funny. That would be kind of funny if, like, secretly Atromancer was fine for a year, but it only got nerfed because somebody lost, like, a drunken bet at the bar. Like, Maricon lost playing darts one night at a local tavern, and that's why we finally nerfed Atromancer.
That's awesome.
Oh, that could be funny.
I mean, in all seriousness, though, I do think it would be a cool gauntlet mode to limit your deck to a single one of the iconic races.
Yeah, no, I mean, something like that could also be pretty cool. I'd really, now that we've said something, though, I really like the idea of, like, a Vanguard or Commander format where you choose an avatar for the game mode and it alters stuff, right? Like, imagine how wonky it could be, right? Like, because Vanguard in Magic, like, some of them were really powerful effects, but you also started at, like, significantly less health or hand sizes, right? Like, as detriments. Yeah. So I could immediately see something where it was like, you start at, 20 health instead of 30, but you get runes, like every 2 health or something stupid, right? Or you start with no cards in hand, but, you get runes every, 4 health instead of 5, or...
I like that. Yeah, you could do all sorts of cool stuff with that, I imagine.
You start with 5 cards in hand, but you get some other drawback. Yeah.
I like it.
I used to love Vanguard, now that I've remembered it. Wow. Blast from the past.
I never got to play it, but I mean, I've seen the cards, and it seems like it would probably be pretty fun. And I mean, like, the part of the fun about these, like, strange gauntlet modes, right, is, like, I don't think anybody's under the illusion that, like, the all commons format is going to be, like, a balanced metagame, right? Like, I'm sure it's one that could be solved fairly quickly with some very clearly tier 1 decks, if not a single tier 1 deck. But, like, that's the beauty of, like, these gauntlet modes, right? Like, you only have to run it for, like, 3 days, and it's not a whole lot of time to solve the meta, and it's an opportunity where you're not, like, responsible for playing something, for having a balanced meta, right? So you could just say, here's what you got. You have 92 hours or whatever to figure it out, 126 hours. Go nuts. I mean, you can have an experience that's not about, like, it being balanced or whatever, and it's not the same experience you're having on the ladder. I think it's awesome. I'm super excited about Pauper.
Somebody in chat was mentioning an animal deck, and I gotta be honest, that's the race I want to take. Like, you can have your Argonians. I want animals. I want tigers and lions and bears, oh my.
I like that. Actually, one of the decks that was submitted to me to play this week for the stuff I'm releasing next week was a scout animal deck that with the Spriggan Lord or whatever. And I actually, like, I beat a couple good decks with that, and had a lot of fun playing it. Like, when that Spriggan Lord hits the board, like, if you get 1 buff, it feels pretty good. You get like 2 or 3, like, that is backbreaking. That's better than Praetorian Commander.
Yeah. Another interesting gauntlet mode, again, because these are always temporary, right? And it's something that people often talk about, specifically ones who don't, like, understand the idea of the checks and balances of design. But just to showcase exactly why it's not a permanent mainstay of, like, the game, I wouldn't mind a gauntlet where they were like, use 3 attributes, build a deck, go.
Oh, geez.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
just so that people can be like, oh yeah, this is why we don't do this. Oh, I remember, you know?
Yeah.
But it was just be a nice temporary, like, one weekend thing, or...
That'd be fun. You know, you mentioned actually you tweeted something or maybe posted something on Reddit recently about like what one card would you move to another deck to break it or whatever, and you mentioned Unstoppable Rage and Scout, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about that. Like I've really taken up Unstoppable Rage in the last like month and a half or so as a card that I talked a lot of shit about, and then like I never played. I just kept losing to it, and
Sure.
I finally started playing it. Like really, I have to admit, like I had a great time playing it. And I was thinking, I have not been able to stop thinking about Unstoppable Rage and Scout and how incredible that would be.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's when they posted that, I was like, I feel like the answer is obvious. Like the one in my opinion, like balance, if you will, is that like, yeah, you can play Unstoppable Rage and like Ramp Warrior, but I don't think that Ramp Warrior has the tools to like ramp as efficiently and insanely as Scout does.
No.
But once you go Scout, like now I've got so many things I can play immediately from hand and abuse it. And even like going a step further, it doesn't even have to be like your big bads, because at 13 mana, for example, if I absolutely have to, like I can soul tear a giant bat out for a 7/7 bat if my soul tear is ramped up and still rage. Like it gets silly when you start thinking about that card in Scout.
No, I agree. That was an interesting one. It's an interesting thought experiment too. I feel like I get better at playing the actual game by considering what's not available and like appreciating why it's not available, and then pursuing the closest approximation of that broken strategy that I can with what I actually have available.
I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a good thought experiment. So, we had the monthly card revealed. I think this is the first time that we have had a podcast since that was revealed. What was your impression of it? Like, obviously, I released a video, so...
I think it's really good. Yeah, that's my just gut reaction, is that I think it's pretty strong. I think that sort of like what I did with Mid-Range Crusader before Heroes of Skyrim, where I just exploited rune-breaking cards and basically tried to win the game with Golden Saint. I think you could put this in a mid-range Spellsword deck that doesn't really exist right now and have quite a bit of success. And I think, for example, that a mid-range Spellsword deck packed full of guard creatures would have a pretty back-breaking game against tokens of all varieties. I think that you could even maybe finally put the Captain of the Watch card or whatever it is, the guy that gives your guard creatures a buff when you play it in that deck. I think it's really strong. I think the Hive Defender might still be stronger because the 6 toughness is just like so clutch with its ability to trade 2 or sometimes even 3 for 1. But the life gain's not incidental, and I think that it's a really good card. What about you?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the mid-range, because when I did my YouTube video, I basically said, like, if it's going to shine, I think that's the place it does shine. The real question is whether or not there's enough like other tools to support it. I do think that if you play like guard.deck and then some of the other like incidental life game, you can essentially play like a mid-range control deck where you're just relying on value trades and health gain to survive the early game, and then you'll have enough like meat hopefully to race down some of the later game decks. But I don't, without playtesting it, I don't know if there's enough there. But for me, in my video I said that it has the potential to be the best card to never make an impact. Like, on the face of it, it's great. Like, the stats are great. It's a 4/5 for 4. It's got a keyword. It's got a triggered ability. It's a 4-cost card that can, like, trade with Cliff Racers and survive, right? So, like, if you play it... So, like, even with Hive Defender... if I already have something in the lane and somebody plops down a Hive Defender in front of it, the next turn I can Cliff Racer in and then trade my small thing, but I'm at least leaving the Cliff Racer's presence on the board. And against Spellsword, a 4/1 Cliff Racer is as good as a 4/4 because they don't really have, pings unless they happen to run Crushing Blow or whatever. But like the 4/5 guy, he's gonna basically force the 2-for-1 in that scenario, right? So like,
I agree.
stat wise, he's magnificent, but I think that the biggest problem is that outside of the mid-range strategy, like when you consider him in control, he doesn't do anything to solve the problems that Spellsword Control already has. Spellsword
Right.
Control already has access to a lot of great guards. It already
Yeah.
has access to conditional health gain, which is what his is. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have good access to AoE, and it doesn't have good access to like consistent drawing, and that card solves none of those. So like, on the face of it, the card is great. I love the stats, I love everything about it, but like, I
Yeah.
don't think he does anything new for Spellsword Control. So
Right.
like, unless you're running him in mid range as like just another big body, for like guard deck,
Right.
I think that's his potential place to shine, and I don't know, without putting some games in, whether or not it'll be good enough or not. So he has the chance to be the best card to never make an impact.
I can totally see what you're saying. I think I agree with you. Yeah. That mid-range deck, that's the sort of deck I like to play the most, So I'm gonna give it a shot. Can you? I mean, going back to the discussion we were having about cards that would break other classes, Ice Storm in Spellsword, that right there. I feel like that breaks it.
Did I hate to do this. If you guys can see this on my screen, I apologize, but like, now I'm entirely puzzled. Is there something I need to know about Maricon? On my screen, like, I got a little notification that popped up, and it said Elder Scrolls Legends has posted a new announcement, and then it said something about daily login rewards. And to the best of my knowledge, there were no daily login rewards. There were just your simple quests. So I don't know if that means that there's something coming. Did we literally just, like, while live, get some sort of news thing, or is my notifications lying to me?
Where is that notification from?
I got it like on my thing from Steam. So.
Oh, I'm not running Steam right now because I feel like if I run any more things using the internet.
Somebody's saying Grandstaff just posted about it on Reddit. Let me see if I can pull it up.
All right. Well, hey, I'll read it in radio announcer voice. All right.
Yeah. No, I'll dig it.
All right. Let's find it here. Ladies and gentlemen, starting October 1st, the Elder Scrolls Legends will have a new system of daily login rewards. Provided as a supplement to your daily quests, these are your rewards for checking in on a regular basis. You'll see a complete schedule showing all the rewards available during the current month. Every day you log in, you'll get a reward and advance to the next, more valuable reward. The monthly schedule records how many times you've logged in since the first day of the month. You don't have to start the first day, and you don't have to log in consecutively to receive rewards. For example, if you log in the first 6 days and then skip a week, you'll get the 7th reward on your next login. This is only the beginning of this new reward system. We will be tuning the schedule each month, and we have plans for even more exciting rewards in the future.
So, one, that's awesome. We basically got breaking news while live. But two, I'm really excited about this. This is actually something that is like pretty common in mobile games. I posted a video about it on my YouTube, but I play that Final Fantasy Brave Exvius game, and then I've also been playing like the pre-launch global version of a game called Alchemist Stone. But both of those have the same thing. So like in the Final Fantasy game, for example, there are like 28 days worth of rewards, right? And so as you sign in every day, you get like something off the checklist. And like if you miss a day and then you come back, then you just still get whatever the next item is. And so by doing 28 days, it gives you a couple of days here or there that you can miss throughout the month and still get it. Shardbound does the same thing, actually, now that I think about it. Shardbound's another game that I'm a big like fan of. And it sounds like this is going to be really similar, and I think that that's really, really cool. And I'm also glad that it's not taking the place of the quests.
Yeah, I like that. Free stuff's great. Part of the reason I love Eternal and I play it a lot, but part of the reason I play every day is because they give you a free pack of cards for the first win you play every day. This is definitely the sort of thing that drives people to play games, you know what I mean? I like it.
Yeah. I'm hoping, so like deep down, I've said this over and over and over again, right? But I want more alternate art. I want custom avatars. Like, I want cosmetic things to spend my money on, you know, game boards, etc. And so I'm
Hmm.
hoping that because they're doing Twitch drops and because they're doing now daily rewards and all of these things, that, you know, one, we know they have to monetize this thing somehow, right? So like deep
Right.
down, I'm hoping that they're giving us all these free things so that people can get enough to play the base game, and that they're eventually going to announce or unveil, like, here's all the you know, the reasons to give us money, because as you know, like, I'm a sucker for the cosmetic stuff, and I'll drop all my money on it. You know, I will admit to the fact that I am both like a whore for cosmetics and a collector. So I would legitimately spend $5 on an avatar that I would never plan on equipping just to say that I had them all. Like, that's exactly the kind of personality I am.
Fair enough. I'm the guy who I bought the Founders Pack in Eternal, which gives you all these like premium avatars, but I still use the Dinky Robot because I think it's funny.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, even if I don't plan on equipping it, like, I just like saying, like, hey, I got that. You know, like, I'm a collector at heart.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I think maybe if I had the experience of like, I mean, I don't know. When I was a little kid, I used to collect fossils. Like, I mean, I dig through rocks in Kansas and like find little like shells, and I was really into that. But I never really like was able to own anything growing up because like I had such a huge drug problem. Like I'd get a few things and I'd sell them. So like as an adult, like I never developed like the collect for a hobby type thing, you know?
Yeah, I was super big into, like, comics as an adolescent, a teen, and, like, even into my early 20s. And I
Hmm.
worked for a comic and gaming shop, and I'd go to shows and all sorts of stuff. So, like, I was very much, like, I collected a lot of different things, and I don't know, it just kind of got ingrained in me. So I'm certainly that personality type, and I know it about myself. So, like, I have to very, like, meter how many things I get into as a hobby, because I'll want to collect everything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like, I hope that we get some of that. I think again that the daily reward system will be a good addition.
I like
I
it.
like it, but I also hope that that means that we're gonna get some of that other fun stuff
Yeah.
soon.
Well, we just need to complete the hat trick now and get to introduce YouTube drops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get on that. Um, so in chat, Americon's answering a lot of cool questions, which is kind of cool. He wrote just recently. He wrote, "Wrath of Sithis is an example of a card that's not particularly high on net fun because the person playing it doesn't get to see what they did. Still wanted to print it though because it served a purpose. I think this is part of a larger discussion he's been having with people in chat about making sure that the fun factor is high, right, versus balancing out OTK combos. I think is how this conversation started.
Sure. No, I mean, I get that from Wrath of Sithis for sure, because
Yeah,
it's like network security, right? You can do all this work and be super proud of it, but it's hard to know, like, how successful it is at keeping
yeah.
things out, you know, and you only really hear about when stuff goes wrong. And
Hmm. Yeah, I've definitely been in situations. It seems like the only time I ever see Wrath of Sithis on the ladder is when I decide to play Market Archer,
right?
and then suddenly every opponent has it. Uh, but yeah, I'm glad stuff like that exists. And you know, it touches on something we talked about, like I think last week, where we were touching on like the difference between soft counters that you know, like a Garnag perhaps, and a card that says like destroy target Argonian, right?
Yeah.
Like Wrath of Sithis is a card that has utility in every matchup just because it interferes with your opponent's plan, which is always like a worthwhile endeavor. But like if the meta becomes overwhelmingly Market Archer or Market Assassin or whatever, becomes that much more worthy of inclusion. But still not backbreaking either.
So one of the other interesting things um, that I would like to say appeals to me. I keep thinking back to, like, stuff that I would pay money for, right? Um, Sometimes Magic has done this. I know that, like, Gwent has done this, and I know that there are other games as well. But, like, I want alternate art sets where I get a different piece of art for each one. right?
Yeah.
Like if I run 3 javelins, I want to be able to, like, I want an alternate art set where the sum composite of the 3 tell a story,
Okay.
right? So like
I like that.
like in Gwent, for example, they'll have like, I don't know, like some no name like Temerian soldier or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But you'll have like 3 different versions. So if you put one of each in your deck, when they're all on the board like side by side, then like the 3 pieces of art like come together to form one bigger art piece.
Yeah, I like that.
So I think that would be kind of cool if we like if Daggerfall Mage, for example, had 3 different arts, but like if you had all 3 like in a lane, it would like complete the story.
You know, it's funny. What they should do is the Daggerfall Mage, the first one, is sort of just a regular Daggerfall Mage, kind of looking to the side, right, towards the center, if you will. And then the second one, the Daggerfall Mage, looks a little angrier and it's giving you the finger. And in the third one, the one that you play on turn 4 after you hit it on turn 2 and turn 3, it's a Daggerfall Mage actually pouring gasoline on the poor guy who's running 2 drops without ward, and your opponent just concedes actually when you hit all 3.
I want a Daggerfall Mage that is like his hands tied behind his back and he's kneeling over because he knows he's going to be executed. And then to the left of him, I want a Daggerfall Mage that's tied up with his hands behind his back, but he's sitting on like a silver platter because he knows he's about to be Grizzly Gourmet. And then I want a third one that's just staring at you, like shoulders up, shrugging, saying, you know, WTF, because he knows he's about to get hit with the Dremora that nobody plays.
I like
except
that.
for the one guy who has it for your third Daggerfall Mage.
I like it. That's perfect.
Yeah, because I feel like I don't know what it is, but every time I play them lately, they just die. It's been a long time since I've got real value out of them. Still great cards, but the hate is real.
No, I agree. And that's not salt, guys. That's sarcasm. My salt is much more obvious. I don't hide it. That's awesome. Yeah, I like the idea of 3 different alternate arts. Obviously, there's some more expense involved in creating something like that, but you know, as a guy who spent the $5 or $10 or whatever for the Hive Defender and a jacket with a wine glass, you know, I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's up.
So we're about at that time where we typically start the Q&A, like officially. I know we've been trying to interact with chat, but I think that this would be a good time to kick that off so that we can make up for last week being short.
Yeah, sorry again about last week, guys. Everything's working out though tonight, right?
Yeah, so far everything's been solid on my end.
Sweet. Yeah, so if you guys want to do some interaction, shout your questions out. This is now an Ian Bit stream, apparently. It says nickname. You know, while we're waiting on questions, bro, you have to get Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah, but like I haven't even played the first one, and
it's not necessary. It's not necessary.
I know, but like I've got so many other single player games that I haven't finished yet, and I'm not gonna have a ton of time because there's a lot of card games I enjoy playing. So like I've said it before, but I love Shardbound. I've been playing that off stream. I've been trying Hand of the Gods off stream just to kind of see what's up because you know, I love card games and I'll try just about any of them. But like even besides that, so coming up here, we're hitting October here soon, and my wife is likely going to be guest streaming a bit.
Cool.
Just because I love making her play horror games, and then laughing at her sheer utter terror.
Horror?
Yeah, like she doesn't know how to separate herself from like games or even just like books or movies, right? Like she gets into whatever she's doing. So she'll legitimately like be playing a horror game, and like the idea of like, oh, I could die 10 times running down this hall till I figure out whatever I need to figure out never crosses her mind. She will like just sit there hunched down like, I'm not moving, I don't want to die.
Nice.
So
that's funny. So she's one of those people who would actually survive a horror movie, unlike me, who would like.
Oh no, she would die because she gets paralyzed.
Knock on the door.
But...
Oh, fair enough. So our first question is, What's the best premium art in the game for each of you guys, and why is this by Fuldramora? My favorite premium art in the game is High Rothgar. I like the snow on it.
That's solid. Mine is Odahviing. The flame effects is real. I think it really highlights like his menacing posture in that, and I think that I stand by my assertion that he's the most iconic card in the game. So I think that goes a long way as well.
Cool. Maricon asks, I missed the beginning. If I ask what kind of pauper decks you're going to play, has this already been covered? I think we touched on it. I'm looking at playing Warrior Midrange, Prophecy Battle Mage, and I want to make Midrange Sorcerer are the ones that I'm most interested in at the moment.
Yeah, I'm probably going to play like mid Sorcerer, mid Mage, and Prophecy Archer.
Groovy. Firedrake writes that your Thume is no match for mine.
Right. I mean, that's one of the many reasons I stand by that Odahviing is the most iconic card in the game.
Fair enough. Oh, Maricon writes, what Elder Scrolls character are you most looking forward to getting into Elder Scrolls Legends so you can cosplay as them? If you make a Maik the Liar card and let me preview it, I will give you a cinematic experience beyond your wildest expectations.
It's so funny because he's probably my favorite Elder Scrolls character, and I had said a long time ago that like I would be willing to cosplay for Maik.
Oh shit! Well, I don't want to step on your couches.
No. Maybe that's just the beauty. Maybe that would be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I would have to find a way to get to Denver. We would both be Maik because he is a liar, and as far as we know, there have been multiples, right? Because he spans many time frames, and we'll have Maik talk to Maik.
That would be great. This one is confused as to who he really is.
Zombie Hunter asks where I got the physical TESL cards. Well, they were given out at various conventions. However, I begged and pleaded to have a set sent to me because I want to frame them and hang them on my wall. I got mine through begging, but they were given out at like QuakeCon, I believe E3, and some other places.
Ian Bitts writes, I don't have a question, but can you read this in radio announcer voice? Hold on a second. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but okay. Remember to check out Charmer on YouTube. I hear rumors that he has a dad.
I do have a dad. Oh man, that still makes me laugh. Like, it makes me laugh because like he didn't even realize what he had done. Oh.
Robo Justin is back. Oh, crap.
I don't hear Robo Justin. I think they might be trolling you.
Hey, Maricon asks Charmer, if you could have a 3D statue of one Elder Scrolls Legends card or character in your house, what would it be and why?
Oh. Ooh. A 3D statue of one card or character. That's interesting. Like... Again, my instinct says Odahviing because I stand by that being the most iconic, and I also like the idea of him being like this massive thing. Like even if they put like the house from the card in front of it, like that could be cool. Wildfire Dragon, like if they had a 3D statue with the flame effect hitting the poor soldiers, like it's on the card, I think that could be pretty cool. If I was picking something not dragon related, but like an actual character. I think Supreme Atromancer could... I mean, that's like me cheating, right? But secretly I would want like an Atromancer with 2 flame elementals on like a statue. So that could be cool. I think Astrid has the potential for a really cool statue because of the different ways that you could play her like in a scene.
I like it.
Tazcat again has a potential to be a pretty cool statue because you could do like a big version of him with like, you know, the 4/4 beast or whatever he leaves behind, like also on it. I'll try to think of statues that like set a scene, right? So like I have this massive Juggernaut statue that's over there, and I like that they add the rubble. I've got the old like Elder Scrolls Online, you know, Mollog Ball thing, and so like it's like the little things, right? But I love that he's gripping a person.
That's cool.
So stuff like that. That's a good question. All of them? I guess the answer is all of them. If they made statues, I just want all of them.
That's what's up. We missed a question actually. What are the best and worst keywords in your opinion?
Oh, I think the best keyword in the game is charge. I've said that for a long time, and I stand by it because
I totally agree.
I think it provides the most utility. It's the only keyword that guarantees immediate impact on the board. It allows you to trade. It allows you to go face. It's like unplanned for in many ways. I think that the worst keyword...
I gotta go with breakthrough, man.
You know, I think standalone by itself, breakthrough is probably the worst. The fact that it compares so well with like Unstoppable Rage is a thing, but historically, breakthrough's almost been, in many ways, as much of a hindrance as a benefit because of the presence of runes. So I think that's probably fair.
What mechanic or keywords would you like to see in an upcoming set? Oh, real quick, I have another answer for another character I want to see in the game that I would cosplay as. Serena, the vampire lady from Skyrim. I'll make that happen. But what mechanic or keywords would you like to see in upcoming sets? What about you, Charmer?
I mean, we've talked about it in the past. In terms of like a mechanic, I really like the ambush mechanic I had talked about in one of my Forge videos. The idea of it being a trigger on a creature every time that creature leaves cover. I think that could be really cool. And I would like to see something that, if not, flanking, something similar to flanking, that was maybe... I'll word it like this. I'd like to see something that takes better advantage of the fact that we have two lanes, right? So maybe the keyword is flanking, maybe it's like bond, right? But I like the idea of like creatures that receive a benefit if there's a copy of the creature in the other lane. Specifically like a copy of the creature though, right? Like I don't want it to be just any creature. I think it would be cool if it was like bonded or something, where like if I have a copy of it in both lanes, then it does something. Yeah.
I like it. I think I mentioned last week, like I want cards to have a keyword that lets me play them from the top of my deck.
Chat brings up a pretty good question. Regenerate's probably a lot worse than breakthrough.
I was looking at that too, and I wrote that there's never been a time when I thought I wish my creature didn't have regenerate, but I've had that thought about breakthrough. I can count like on one hand probably the number of times like regenerate's been relevant. But I don't know. It's never held me back either. Whereas I have definitely made plays that would have been better if the creature I had did not have breakthrough.
I'll change my answer and agree with chat, and I'm going to say this strictly because of Mundus Stone. There has been plenty of times where my creature has rolled breakthrough and I've been happy, and I have never been happy when my creature has rolled regenerate.
Right. That's fair. Oh man, the cat is back.
Nice. I don't want it to get lost because it was kind of far up there, right? But somebody asks, what are your thoughts on Bethesda saying that tournaments are not on their top list as a priority? And what do you think that's going to do for the game in the long run?
Sandra fell asleep. She just woke up to take care of the cat. I'm sorry. What do I feel about... Jesus. Khajiit has wares. What do I think about the tournament thing? I want to watch these tournaments. I really want to. If it's not a priority, that's of course their business decision. And I have to say that I disagree that it shouldn't be a priority. I think it should be a bigger priority, but I mean, I want him to be a viewer, right? Like I'm under no illusion that I would be playing in these tournaments. I want them because I want to have the experience of sitting in chat with other people and talking about what's going on in the game. And I can kind of have that experience now by watching the Elder Scrolls Legends Championship Series, right? So like what I'm looking for in the competitive scene sort of already exists, but I think that it would be good for the community to have access to more of that. And of course, the official sanction, right? The official title, I think, would give it a lot more weight. So I want it to happen.
I mean, for me, I'm one of those people that like craves competition. So like my own personal stance is obviously I'd love to see tournaments, and I'd love to see a wide array of tournaments, small ones, big ones, stuff in the client, stuff with big money attached, stuff with different formats, like you name it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I even though I also am like I have no illusion of like I'm gonna go pro or I'm gonna win big money, because the truth is like my schedule just would never allow for that.
Right. Yeah,
I
we'll say that's my reason too.
yeah, like I just enjoy like competition, because to me, I'm one of those people that like when it comes to games and sports and anything like that in life, the only way you get better is by challenging yourself and by like playing against people that are better than you. It's just like when
Yeah.
you want to learn something, right? Like when I want to learn something, I go to the people that are smarter than me and I have them
Yeah.
teach it to me, right? If I want to
That's a
learn
great
about
point.
game design, I'm going to hit up Paul because he's got years of experience. I'm not just going to, casually hit up whatever. Um,
Right.
so like for me, I think that again personally, I'd like to see him. That being said, as far as like what I think it's going to do to the long term of the game, I honestly don't think it's going to matter. Like the Elder Scrolls Legends is going to have like three kinds of people that are playing it, right? People who want a tournament scene and they'll stick around for a bit, and if it's not there, then they might go away. But then if it ends up coming back, I strongly believe that at least 60-70% of those people would come back.
Yeah.
For as much negativity as they might have about the lack of a tournament scene now, um, they're not gonna not come back if they loved the game and it's finally whatever. They'll come back and at least try it. Will we hold them long term? Maybe not, but I have a strong suspicion those people would come back. And then I mean the majority of your player base, in all honesty, are like people who just love card games in general, or
Yeah.
people who love Elder Scrolls. And like
Yeah.
the people who've played Skyrim for like 600 hours, honestly, they probably don't care if
Right.
there's a big money tournament. Um,
Right.
like it's just I get it. Like people want tournaments, but like that's I don't know. It's frustrating because it's something that I would like, but I completely understand. And again, it's one of those things like they probably have significantly more metrics and stuff that we don't have, right? They probably have a better shot at data. I bet if they looked at their player base, right, and they said like these are the people who log in daily, these are the people who play more than like 200 games a month. If that number is small and if that's what they're saying is like likely going to be the tournament players, then maybe they're justified in not doing it. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
pretend to have all the information that they have, but I don't think it's going to hurt the game long term. Not at all.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement. Ba-dum. Get in your questions. Any last questions you guys got, or suggestions for future discussions? Always looking for those too. Things you want to hear us talk about, pontificate over for an hour or two. By the way, we failed once again to make this under an hour.
Oh, this will never. I've fully accepted at this point that this is going to be at least 2 hours every time. Like I'm done
Yeah.
with that.
We just talk too much,
Yeah,
man.
no, I mean it's fine. Like I can't keep off tangents. You can't keep off tangents. At this
No.
point, we should rename it fun, interactive, and tangents.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think they're our best moments, actually.
Angela City Gamers asks me, Charmer, since you play many card games, as do I. What are some mechanics of other card games you'd like to see incorporated into Legends? Believe it or not, Justin plays a hell of a lot of card games too, so I'll let him start.
Poorly. I play them all poorly. From Eternal, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I think Warcry is fascinating. I think that Echo is interesting. I think Warp is interesting. Those are the ability to play cards from the top of your deck, the ability to buff the top creature or equipment in your deck, and the ability to draw an additional copy of a card when you draw it. I think all those are really cool, and I'd love to see them in Legends. Beyond that, I just started trying Hand of the Gods, that Smite Tactics game. And one of the things I like about that game, one of the keywords is this protectability. It's sort of like a dialed down ward. Probably is just unnecessarily complex, but like I'd love to see like creatures, or that say, all damage dealt to this is reduced by 1. I think that's something that you could get, you know, make sense out of pretty simply. Although the ward mechanics sort of covers that.
For me, I would like to see something like Echo. I would even like to see, like, even if they have to tone it down, right? Like, maybe it's like prophecy. Like, if you drew this card off of a rune, add another copy of it to your hand or something, right? But
I like
I
that.
loved Echo because Echo allowed you to set up some like pretty cheeky things and combos in Eternal. I
Yeah.
think Warcry on a large scale could be problematic again because of like just this game has prophecy and Eternal doesn't. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
We potentially have to see. Um, I think that I'd like to see something almost like that. Like that protect, like maybe they could call it like armor or something that just like mitigates damage by
Yeah.
1 or something just across the board. That could be kind of neat. I would like to see something also that was maybe, I'd like to see something that potentially like lets you gain 5 health and restore a rune. That would have to be really expensive, or maybe on like a unique creature as like a comes into play effect. I'd like to see something that maybe says like your runes can't be broken, right? Like, I don't know how that would work
Hmm.
thematically, but
I really want a card that says only 1 creature may attack each turn. Each player may only play 1 card each turn. I mean,
uh,
that's basically a magic card, that Silent Arbiter, right, from
yeah, there's
Kamigawa.
that. I could see something like that, but it'd have to be lane specific. I could also see something like Ensnaring Bridge, but for a single lane. For those of you
Ensnaring
who
Bridge.
don't know, Ensnaring Bridge is that creatures can't attack if they if their what is it their power is higher than the number of cards in your hand.
Yeah.
So the idea is like if you keep your hand small, then they can't attack you at all. But again, that would have to be lane specific because there would have to be like counterplay of some.
It's the engine. It's part of the engine behind. Well, it's not part of the engine, but it's one of the control tools in the my favorite Magic deck of all time, actually, the modern deck Lantern Control. Which is
Yeah.
not like, I mean, it's a real deck, but it's not a real deck too at the same time.
Yeah, I'm
uh,
trying to think of like it's so hard because many of the other card games that were wildly different from this or wildly different from Magic, because let's be honest, that's like the grandfather of games like this. Those games are like so different that the mechanics don't translate well over. Like I've been on record as saying like I vastly loved the Decipher games mechanically.
yeah, yeah,
Decipher was just a shitty business, but
yeah.
like I loved some of the stuff that the Star Wars Decipher game did, but it wouldn't translate well over. And similarly, I loved the Decipher Lord of the Rings game, right? I loved their Twilight Pool mechanic and the idea of like you play things, but when you play things, then it gives power to your opponent as well.
Mhm.
Um, but again, like that's such a it would require like such an overhaul of like how this game would work. Um, like the equivalent in this would be like you play a card, but because you played it, your opponent would get extra magicka on their turn, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then you would have to like balance around that somehow. So I mean, maybe
Yeah.
you could put something like that in. Like maybe it's, maybe that's the drawback, right? Like maybe it's Mournhold Trader, but instead of leaving a 2/1 behind, it's like it's a 2 cost 4/4, but your opponent gets 1 extra magicka on the following turn or something. I don't know.
I like it. And Garner W writes, "There's a card idea that changed your runes to fire runes." I remember that. Like, that was a really cool suggestion somebody had a week or two ago, and I think that would be sweet too. Kako, Mr. K writes, "Would you support lands? We have support cards that function similarly in terms of affecting the state of the game and rules of the match, mainly Hisgrove by increasing the max magic on top of the additional effects, 8/8s, as well as Hidden Trail. I would love to see more of those for other colors, like red support 7 Magicka, make the field lane charge lane that will not be abused by aggro face decks at that cost, but still enable some cool combos. Even at 7 Magicka, a support card that makes a lane all charge creatures is totally busted in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, charge, like I've said before, like charge is the most broken keyword in the game. There are so many creatures that immediately come to mind where I'm like, if I could just give this creature charge, like
Night Talon Lord, broken.
right, you know, or like anything that I played Remora Markans on, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would support things like that. I think that changing the nature of the lanes just in general is a cool thing yet to be explored. But if you do too much of it, then you also have to have easily accessible things to reset them, right? Like right now with Hidden Trail,
Yeah.
after you play it, even if you blow up Hidden Trail, like you're just like the lanes are the way they are for the rest of the game. So that whole idea, while I would support it, would require some additional stuff to make it ebb and flow through the course of a match properly.
I'd love to see some more support cards with more global type effects. You could do a lot of like the kind of like prison rule setting type mechanics that I really want to see pushed in red in as a support card. I think I love the idea of giving red support cards that do crazy things. I think Charmer and I both touched on that when we talked about what we would do with red like 6 months ago. Mr. K adds, the idea is what matter. Changing lanes, for instance, similar to Hidden Trail. Yeah, no, I agree. The idea is great. The idea is solid. I love support cards because I love changing like we've played the game long enough now that we know the rules of the game, right? So things that change the rules of the game I find super fascinating, right? Because it provides a new experience and makes you think about the game in a different way. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with more support cards like that.
Oh, I love Maricon's question. These always, I feel like, are a secret test. For the record, because Maricon is a developer, whenever he asks questions like this, in my head, I feel like he's testing us. Like, I feel like if I answer wrong, he's going to silently judge me and be like, these idiots don't know anything. But Maricon asks, if Night Talon Lord costed 12 and had charge, would it be the best card in the game?
Huh.
So my gut reaction is, I don't think it would be the best card in the game. To me, I think that it's hard to say any late game card like that is ever the best card because there's no guarantee you make it to 12. But I would feel very comfortable in saying it might be the best finisher in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you could go face with it. You could use it to stabilize. Yeah. You could use it to stabilize and steal a creature. Right. And the fact that it's not a unique legend and I could run 3 of them, right? Like, I would personally prefer to run like 3 of those over 3 Manticoras, for example.
You know, it's interesting. I'm thinking about this, right? Like, it would come down later than it comes down now, right? Like, and Night Talon Lord there are only a hand. You have to silence it, or you have to destroy it, or you have to win the game the next turn after your opponent plays it in order to not just get crushed by it. I wonder if at 12 Magicka it would be too slow to matter, right? Because against a deck that you're going to stabilize on turn 12 by gaining 8 life and maybe stealing one of their creatures, like, wouldn't you be more likely to stabilize with that creature on turn 7, 8, or 9 when you drop it, and then swing the next turn? Like, your opponent wouldn't have a window to react if it had charge, but at 12 Magicka...
Well, so I would counter with this thought. Like, how many times has Odahviing saved you?
I mean, a fair number, I have to admit.
Right. So Odahviing costs 12. Now, granted, Odahviing hits everything on the board, but I would argue that taking a creature off and gaining 8 is probably similar in value to your typical Odahviing by the time you play it. But Odahviing's a unique legend, and Night Talon Lord, you'd be able to run 3 of them, right? So, like, imagine in Scout right now, right? Right now, I've lost a lot of games because, like, I've easily got to 12, and if I had Odahviing, like, I just won. But now I could run like 3 Night Talon Lords. Yeah,
that's a good point.
You know, I just like I said, I think for me, and then it gives you that flexibility that Odahviing doesn't, where like, well, maybe I just go face. Right. So
that's a good point.
So for me, like, I think that it would be like your best closer, right? But I don't think it would be necessarily the best card in the game because it's just going to be too inefficient or inconsistent, like, on if you get that deep. But I think it would be the best finisher.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I like it.
We had another question. Heatfire Ash asks, what do you think about cards that would give your actions extra damage when on the field?
I think you actually talked about this a few weeks ago, right?
I may have. I talk about a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I believe we decided we didn't want to see it, right?
I guess for me, the danger in something like that, I guess I wouldn't say I don't want to see it, but I think that the danger in something like that is anytime that you add something like that to a game, well, I guess I'll put it like this. At its core, Legends is a game that's meant to be played around creatures, right? It's not like Magic the Gathering, where you can get away with like creatureless style decks and so forth. And that might be a play type or a play archetype that people like. I certainly enjoyed it when I played Magic, but Legends is built around like you've got a field lane and a shadow lane, and you have creatures that can directly attack each other. So there's this like emphasis on like creature combat and creature interaction, and playing cards like that where you're then upping the potential damage of your actions is something that potentially, I'm not saying it would outright, but potentially rewards a play style that isn't based around creature interaction, right? You could set up like I try to get somebody low enough, and then, if I get a couple of these guys on the board, I, lightning bolt and crushing blow somebody to death or whatever. I mean, that even still happens like now, but there's that, and I know slippery slope is a shitty argument, don't get me wrong, but there is that slippery slope of like, is that a play style that you like really want to promote in a game where like creatures are supposed to be the core? And I don't know.
Yeah. I tend to agree with everything you just said. I mean, I can't even present a compelling argument for the other side, to be honest with you. I'm struggling to do that, so I'm sorry I can't fill my co-host job with that one there. I'm also sort of getting like watching this drama unfold in chat. Like I can't really follow the argument because I didn't see the beginning, and I'm not going to scroll up. But apparently, we're playing host to a little discussion about variants and MMR. Oh, and I just got 600 gold.
Well,
hell yeah! We're eating bread tonight, or sweet rolls, I guess.
So, another question, absolutely Terabad. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. I love that name. What if they changed Tyrannus to fill your hand with as many random actions as could fit?
Still not constructed playable.
Wow, really? I would actually say the opposite. I think that
think so?
I think he becomes like a high-end finisher for Assassin. Like I would almost play him in a slot over an Atromancer. Because if you think about it, like at that point in the game, you're going to be running so low on gas, Justin. Like the fact that I could play him, and even if I get like 7 actions, if they were truly random. Now, if we're talking like random 0 costs, like a Smuggler's Haul, all right, not a deal. But like if I'm talking about truly like just random actions, and I could get Soul Tears, I could get Lightning Bolts, I could get Dawn's Wraths, whatever the case may be, and I'm getting 7 or 8 of those bad boys, like that's pretty huge. Like I've already been salty at losing to like something weird off of a single Telvanni Arcanist. I can't imagine that on steroids.
Yeah, I think that like the reason I say that is that Battle Mage's Onslaught's not played.
Battle Mage's Onslaught, however, to quickly jump in here, I think is played at the wrong point on a curve, and also doesn't have a body on the board, right? This would be something that gives you a body, and it's likely going to be played when you want to fill your hand. And also, Battle Mage's Onslaught is just a class card, whereas this could, against, like, Speaker could go in Assassin, could go in Mage, right? Like, imagine a Control Mage,
I agree.
A Mid-Mage,
I've said before that the worst part about Battle Mage's Onslaught, and the reason it's not tier 1, is that you have to play Battle Mage in order to play it. Like literally every other color combination can afford that tempo loss except Battle Mage.
All right.
It's interesting.
Oh,
We've been asked to design sweet roll related cards on the spot.
that's
What you got,
that's
man?
a good question. Poisoned sweet roll. It's a 1/1 roll with lethal.
Fair enough. What color is Poison Sweet Roll, man?
It's a neutral 2 cost.
Fair enough. Actually, I would probably draft that from time to time. That's a great hole filler as far as arena goes. Sweet roll related card. Master Chef. At the start of your turn, create a sweet roll. This creature's attack and defense are equal to the number of sweet rolls you control. Costs 1.
I think it would be kind of cool if, hear me out, if our second alternate win condition card, so we have the Jarl, right? I want something that's like the sweetest chef or something. And it's literally like if you have a lane filled with sweet rolls, you win the game. Or or if your board is only sweet rolls or something, right? Like give me the incentive to like play alter but like with no 1-drops so that I can just keep making sweet rolls, and then my opponent, like, it creates that, just the existence of that card would create such an interesting dynamic where like my opponent would be like, all right, he's made 2 sweet rolls, do I have to start killing the sweet rolls, right? Like, can I risk still going face? Like,
I like it.
I think that would be kind of fun.
Dude, Sinistar99 just wrote the Colonel, turn an angry chicken into a sweet roll.
Oh, dude. Americon with the pun. That's a sweet design.
Dude, you nailed it. Oh my god, I can't top that. That's too good. Oh man. Zombie Hunter asks, have I ever stolen a sweet roll for flavor? I haven't. When I was homeless, I used to steal bread to survive. And then WebNG writes, TESL unrelated, do you take advantage of the high Colorado mountains? So I'm not sure if this is a pun or not. I haven't smoked weed since 2010. So the high part is out of the question. But yeah, Sandra and I do go into the mountains. I live right at the foot of North Table Mountain, on the outskirts of Denver. We go up there. We go to Lookout Mountain. I mean, it's right there. You know, you go out on the front porch, like, you see the mountains. So we're in there. We're out there all the time.
I'm not in Colorado, so I don't take advantage of high mountains. Though they do have mountains in the northern part of Michigan. But I also typically don't go there either, because I'm a troll. Fun fact, if you live in Michigan, if you live in the Upper Peninsula, you're a Youper, which is like a play on Upper Peninsula gets shortened to UP, and then if you live in the UP, you're a Youper. And if you live in the Lower Peninsula, like myself, you're a troll, because there is a bridge that connects the Upper and Lower Peninsula called the Mackinac Bridge. And people who live under the bridge are trolls, because trolls live under the bridge. So you've now learned some local Michigan slang and a bit of geography. You can at least say you learned one thing in this broadcast.
Wow. That is funny. I think I've maybe heard you refer to yourself as a troll before within the context of living in Michigan, but I didn't understand it till now. So
yeah, no, it's a legitimate. You know, it's not like me being har internet troll. Like, you're a troll if you live in the Lower Peninsula.
I feel like my life is a little bit more complete now than it was a minute ago. Oh, shit.
Kaniac says, fix the least played card in the game that you feel could be made playable with a minor tweak. That's difficult. I always say that I want to see Somerset Orrery changed to draw a card and then put a card from your hand back on top of your deck, but I don't think that's a minor change. But I do think that would take potentially, you know, the least played card and like give it some life. And I won't rehash that because I talk about it a lot. If I was gonna play a low, you know, pick a low played card and make a a minor change. I'm trying to think of low played cards that I think have some like potential value there, right?
A minor tweak.
Yeah, the minor tweak is what it's trying to hang me up.
I'll wait for you because I have some troll answers.
I'll go with Mage's Guild Retreat, and I'll say that
Yeah.
it needs to have a chance of making any Atronach and not just the 3. I think Mage's Guild Retreat, if it can start pulling the Lava Atronachs or Iron Atronachs or things like that, even if it is just a chance, suddenly becomes well worth the like time and effort it would take to set that off.
I think that if House Kinsman was a 3/3 instead of a 3/2, it would see a lot of play.
Yeah, or if a Werebat was a 4/3.
Yep, that one too. It's a small change. I think it would make it really playable.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm trying to think of actual answers. I think that Malefic Wreath, the green action that costs 3 and gives a creature -2/2, I think if it gave it -3/2, it would see a ton of play.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big bump in power, though, too, obviously. I will say this about this game.
Yeah.
Legends, in my opinion, it showcases exactly how well it's balanced when you consider how often a one stat change in any direction vastly impacts the playability of a card, right? Like, literally,
Yeah, that's true.
one attack power or one health, one way or the other, like, literally will change the frequency of how much a card is played. And to me, that speaks a lot about the level of balance, you know?
I agree. Why did you start playing HS God HS? A question: why did you start playing Elder Scrolls Legends, and what keeps you making content and playing this game at the level that you play at? Why don't you answer that one first, man?
I mean, I started playing Legends because I love card games and I'm always looking to check stuff out. So, like, I applied for the beta just because I like card games. What keeps me, like, playing and making content is just that right now, I don't think there's another game on the market that has the combination of interesting mechanics, interesting, like, intellectual property and lore, and I don't know, like, community that this does. Like, not that our community is always like the best of the best, right? But there's a lot of people and a lot of good friends that I've made in this community, and that helps a lot in keeping me active. I think that the mechanics are built in such a way that I can envision how they work and intertwine, and as somebody who is like an amateur design nerd, I think that there's a lot of room there. And then when you combine it with the lore and intellectual property, right? Like I like trying to think of like what custom cards would be for this game, right? Now I also, for example, love the Witcher universe, and I also think Gwent is very well designed. But like I'm never gonna say like, hey, I would really like to design this custom card for Gwent, because at the end of the day, and this isn't a knock against the game because I enjoy it, but like Gwent is just math. There's not, like, it's literally like I play this card and it's worth this many points one way or the other, like, period.
Yeah.
Where, like, this game I can think about, like, interactions and how can I make a creature embody what it was like in the game, or, you know, in some lore aspect. And to me, that keeps me coming back. I really enjoy that.
It feels like that computer that won Jeopardy would be the world's best Gwent player, but I'm not sure they'd be the world's best Elder Scrolls Legends player.
You think Watson is the best Gwent player ever? I could see that.
Yeah. As far as how I got involved, I was playing Hearthstone. I thought it was kind of shitty. I saw an advertisement for the beta. I don't know how I got that email, but I signed up for it because I loved Elder Scrolls, and got in May. Nobody was making videos when closed beta dropped out, so I got a hold of a camera and started doing it. And I keep doing it because I have a ton of fun reading the comments on the videos and interacting with the community. And I mean, I love the game too. But there are a lot of games I like that I don't play as much as I play Legends. It's, for me, it's just like the opportunity to experience something fun like this, and like I basically like uh so like the type of content that I watch online is what I create, right? Like, and I take a lot of satisfaction like knowing that sometimes I'm able to provide the same kind of like really enjoyable experience to people that like other people provide to me, and being part of that circle I feel like encourages more people to get out there and do things that make other people happy, and I feel like I'm affecting positive change as a result. I mean, that's why I do what I do for a living too, but I think being part of it in the games community is a really unique opportunity, and one that I don't take for granted. So
Your answer was way better than mine. Can I take mine back
man,
now?
lately I've been working doing fundraising. So I've been working on my like my speeches. My speeches.
Oh.
You've gotten like 3 subscribers tonight, man. So what's up?
Yeah, I know. I feel really bad because I normally make a big hoopla about it and the notifications are on, but because I don't want like all the sounds going off for the broadcast, I currently have them turned off. But that doesn't mean I don't see them, and I certainly
Yeah.
appreciate it and love it, and it gets me that much closer to unlocking some sweet new emotes as well.
Some dude asked us what our favorite beers are.
Well, I know what yours is, so I guess I'll go
Yeah.
first. I'll admit that I don't drink a ton of alcohol, and when I do, I actually prefer hard ciders because, like, I'm a girl at heart, and I like my things either minty or like citrusy, which also kind of leads into what my favorite beer is. But when I do drink beer, I really enjoy Blue Moon because I like the like orange citrusy taste that it has.
Cool. And yeah, I don't drink, so. Glyph asks, what do you think Pilfer Monk needs to become tier 1? Sarcastic answer, just like Boom's Life playing it. That guy does crazy things with Monk. Realistic answer, I don't know. It's hard to say. The two cards that like are powerful in that deck are the combo, right? Like Master of Thieves and Thieves Den, and you
Yeah.
can put that in any monk deck, right? So like if it depends what you consider a pilfer deck. Like there's no real incentive to just run a deck full of creatures with pilfer. They do synergize with Master of Thieves, but Master of Thieves plus Thieves Den is way more powerful than the creatures that are already existing that have pilfer printed on them as it is. I think that Charmer, you've talked about this in the past a little bit though, and I know you have some thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Pilfer. I firmly believe that Pilfer will never be truly tier 1, because it's based entirely around like going face. It embodies, in my opinion, the best of the snowball classes in terms of like raw potential, right? Like you're rewarding the board, right? You're rewarding your creatures for trying to kill your opponent, and if your stuff only gets better while your opponent is getting in a worse and a worse and a worse state, it can create some very unfun one-sided experiences. So inherently,
Yeah.
I think that they need to like kind of be undertuned in many ways to just prevent like the outright steamroll snowball effects. So I think that they'll always be like viable but never truly tier 1 just because of like the danger there. Like if you overtune it even just a little bit, I think that Pilfer has the potential to just run wild.
That's my opinion as well. I like that the direction Monk has headed since the core set release has been towards life gain as like an identity. I think that's really interesting. And I like that as the overlap between the two classes. I mean, like personally, I felt like Pilfer as a mechanic sort of felt out of place in Willpower to begin with. So the direction they've gone since the core set has been something I've really supported.
Yeah, if Pilfer ends up not being quote unquote supported in the future, I would really like it to be like a combination of life gain and movement. Like I think Monk's Strike, for example, is like the ideal step in the right direction for the class. Something that focuses like mobility and survivability.
I agree. I agree.
Before it gets lost, S. Judd asked me specifically, 3 jobs, wife and kids, lots of streaming. How much cocaine do you consume daily? No cocaine, but lots of coffee. Lots and lots of coffee.
That's fair. I love coffee, man.
It just comes down to like when you work as much as I do, even though I should just go to bed, a lot of times I need time to decompress. And playing games and making content, and like this is definitely a passion of mine, right? So like this is my decompression. This is what I look forward to at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah. SJUD, I've never stolen a car to pay for coffee. Just throwing that out there. All right. This has been a good night. I needed this.
I needed this. You and me both, buddy. I definitely needed this after a week like this. Yeah.
Should we take this one last question here?
Yeah, I felt like there was still one other question that I had missed. Oh yeah, well, there was the Ian Bits one. Is that the one you're referring to?
No. Go ahead and do that one.
Ian Bits said, okay, non-dumb question. As a new YouTube content creator, how do you guys approach the dissonance between effort and views? It's tough for me knowing the videos I haven't cared about are the ones out viewing the videos I've put a ton of time in. This is actually something you and I have talked about. So
yeah, I've had this thought. The short answer is that I have absolutely no idea what makes some people successful and some of their content successful and some of it unsuccessful. My favorite videos that I make are some of the least viewed ones I've made. A lot of it has to do, I think, with the clickbaitiness of your title. Like I recently played Ray Barker's deck and titled the video The Coolest Deck You've Never Played, right? And I was trying to be sarcastic because like the deck list looks like just a straight pile of garbage, but I managed to win 3 games in a row with it on camera. So I was like, well, this should be entertaining. And then the video got like 5,000 views in like 3 days. And my videos usually average around 2,000, 2,500 views. So yeah, you can con people into watching your content if you want, but it's hard. I don't know what makes some people successful at this and some not. Charmer, what do you think?
I mean, so for me, I can say without like a shadow of a doubt, most of the videos that I am the most proud of are some of the least viewed. Yeah. The ones that I put the most effort into. So I will say like I'm really happy with my card reveals, and I always try to put a lot of effort into those. But those are going to get like a lot of views just by the nature of their spoiling content, right? But like when I think of like the videos that I personally enjoy the most and put a lot of effort into are never my most viewed ones, and I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, the real truth is like I'm not. This is gonna sound like really shitty for you guys as viewers, but like I'm not making content for you guys 100%. That doesn't mean I don't like listen to your feedback and I don't consider it, but like I'm making it for me. Like I'm making stuff that I'm excited about, right? And so like I'm not doing this to make money. Like, do I monetize my stuff? Yeah, because that's because like my streaming setup is kind of a hot pile and it's quickly degrading, and any of the stuff that I ever get back in money I always put back into the stream, back into content. This is 100% a hobby for me. I'm not gonna quit my 3 jobs and then like suddenly start streaming full time, is I guess what I'm trying to say, right? Like this isn't my path to this isn't like my path to fame or riches or whatever the case may be. So
same here.
You know, for me, like I'm making something that like I just want to make for me. So like I can tell you, like just here for giggles, right? Like let me pull up like my YouTube channel and I'll talk about some of the ones that are not necessarily viewed a lot, but are things on my channel that I personally am a big fan of, right? Let's see. I know this because I can go like right down to, I think I have a playlist like Charmer's favorites, right? So like I've got the 3 that have a lot of views are the card reveal, and what does the meta mean? And I put a lot of effort into those because I knew that those were going to be like Bethesda related, spoiler related. The what does the meta mean one was like for the content creator showcase. But like by nature, those are going to have lots of views, right? Next up is my Alina Banak play of the game, where I took the Overwatch like overlay stuff and put it to the Alina lethal. To me, like that's just fun because I was doing something like cheeky and creative, right?
Yeah.
But then like as I'm going through some of these, like the Sometimes Lucky video that's in my favorites, right? I enjoy that because it's showcasing a lot of times where I got really lucky playing Prophecy, but it's only got like 300 views, which is like not the 1,000, 2,000 that the other ones have. Some of my old culling videos I really enjoyed from that game. The Slenderman reaction highlights from my wife playing that game crack me up every time I watch it. 249 views. Even when it comes to legend stuff, like I adore almost all of the Forge videos I made. Why? Because I love talking about design and thinking up custom cards, but those always get less views than my gameplay stuff does, for example. So, like, I guess for me, I would say just focus on like doing what you enjoy, and that will make sure that you keep doing it. If you're just trying to like chase the views, there is a method that you can do that, and I would suggest just like Googling YouTube marketing methods, and like you'll hear about the clickbaity titles. There are ways that you can leverage and exploit the YouTube algorithm to get more views. Like there is a business case to be made there. I can just tell you that myself, and I know Justin because I've had this conversation with him, just don't do that stuff because like the success isn't necessarily what we're chasing.
Right. No, yeah, I just to kind of add to some of those the comments. Yeah, I also don't want to do this for a living. It's a hobby that I really enjoy. I monetize the videos to pay for the costumes and the equipment to make the videos. Although I am giving away all the money the channel makes in September to recovery efforts in Puerto Rico, and when I actually make that donation, I will show everybody where exactly that money's going. But yeah, I don't know. My most successful video is a game I played against Calento, followed by the first episode of From Loser to Legend, I think. And I was thinking about like what makes me want to watch somebody else, and it's just I'm just like looking for authentic people, like even if they're people I don't have anything in common with, or maybe I don't know anything about personally. Like if they seem like they're just like genuine dudes, like doing their own thing. Like I'm much more inclined to like watch long enough to see if I actually like their content. You know what I mean? Like it seems like so many YouTubers are out there making, and this is not about Elder Scrolls Legends content creation really, but a lot of people on YouTube are like making stuff where they're trying to play to a certain audience, and they just feels like fake, man. I don't know, and I'm just not into that. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I can assure you guys 100% that I am as boring in real life as I appear in all of my videos.
Yeah.
Like it is naturally like just like one of my jobs is I teach college courses at night, right? And like that's just me. Like I'm just that dude. I'm actually probably more charming in person and teaching college and whatever than I am in my videos. I'm probably my own worst enemy, but
yeah, the only thing I do that's like sort of inauthentic is I don't swear in my videos, and that's just because like I was thinking when I started doing this about like kids watching some like being really into card games, and Elder Scrolls Legends is like one of the few Elder Scrolls titles that's not rated mature, so it's like the most likely entry point into the Elder Scrolls universe for someone who's younger. And I just didn't want like mom or dad, maybe this is just me being old and dumb, but like mom or dad walking by and juniors watching me on the thing, and I'm dressed as an orc and I'm saying fuck this and fuck that, like I just feel like that's not going to help anybody out.
Yeah, no.
And in real life I swear all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that sentiment. For me, like because this was my passion project, and because like I work as many jobs as I do, and I'm censoring myself there, and I don't always do it, but like I try to censor myself around my kids a bit. Like by the time I sit down here, I'm just like, fucking A, man. Like I'm not gonna censor myself, and then I'm even more, I guess, emboldened to do it just knowing that like Pete has no problems with dropping an F-bomb at E3 on the main stage. So like if people are into the Elder Scrolls or any other Bethesda title, they've probably heard Uncle Pete drop it. So I'm thinking I'm probably safe, but
I can understand that. See, I swear at the office all the time. I mean, like I work in a place where most people there did time in prison, and our policy on language is therapeutic professional language with lots of swearing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. Like I'm in state government, nonprofit education, and college professor, so.
Right. I
Yeah,
don't swear. Where do I not swear? I don't swear on Sandra's parents.
that's that's good. We got to make sure that they still think you're a charming young boy.
Yeah, they know about the channel now, though. Actually,
Oh, good, good.
they're fans. Awesome. Did we miss any questions?
Somebody said that they wanted to thank you for all the hard work you do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm sorry I took a week off. It's only the second time I've done anything like this. The other time was when my computer died, but I've just been like so busy this last week that I just needed a few days to come home and not do anything.
Yeah, I'm also sorry that my schedule's been shit for like a month, but between the jobs and then the nonstop stream of like family health
Right.
issues and then subsequent death, yeah, it's been a bit of a trying time around my household in general. So
I understand. Oh, Ozzy says he asked a question. This is the one I saw as the last question. Are there any other aspects or flavors of classes you would like to see explored, i.e., battle mage based on what strength is ideally is, same with intelligence? Are there other aspects of this color identity you'd like to see brought about? Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit last week, and we touched on it this week with our discussion about monk and how, like, I think we both agree that the life gain, sustain kind of card, like identity for monk, is something we like that's been developed recently. Yeah, there's definitely some stuff like that. I like the draw card, discard a card together mechanic as a sorcerer thing, for instance, because it synergizes with aspects of both classes, right? Like the drawing that blue does and the reanimation that purple does. So I like the filter mechanic, if you want to call it like that, from Magic, where you draw multiple cards and discard multiple cards.
yeah, I believe the magic slang is looter, right? The old
Looter, yeah, there you go. There you go. That's right. Merfolk looter.
right. No, I think that there's probably some that could be explored. Trying to think of stuff that's already not pretty heavy-handed though. Like I think that ramp obviously straddles the scout class, but like if I had to find something else in scout, for example, that I think could be upped, I think that um, like minus minus and or transform, like transform in general is something I'd like to see more of. Maybe that's like a warrior thing, right? Like warrior has beast form, and then we also
Yeah,
have in endurance things like lay down arms and mummify and those. So like
yeah,
between the two of them I would like to see it like both proactively and reactively, like transforming my own creatures to make them big and transforming my opponent's
yeah,
creatures, because all the hard removal in both endurance and for the most part even in strength has always been conditional anyway. So maybe
yeah.
that becomes like the control warrior theme, if you will. I could see that being kind of cool.
I'd like to see more. I think that it exists. Like I don't think it's like breaking anything about the color's identities to say that Crusader could do a whole lot with rule setting mechanics and particularly support cards that change the nature of each game of the game.
Oh
I think
man, I want to see so much more like rule setting stuff so that I can do. I need to just like bring out my inner Justin Larson, right? Like I want to do a video where I'm the Crusader cop and I dress up like a cop
nice.
and I literally just like every game I set rules, and then when somebody breaks them, like I play arrest and I'm just like, pull over, show me your ID, how fast were you going?
That's awesome. I have an idea actually. The next time I die to a prophesied lightning bolt for my opponent, Sandra and I have worked out an idea for something we're going to do. Like we have it preloaded. I just haven't been killed by a prophesied lightning bolt in quite a while. But stay tuned for that because when that happens, we'll have something goofy going on.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. With the exception of Prophecy Battle Mage, I haven't seen a whole lot of intelligence on the ladder.
Yeah, I
I've been
agree.
saying it for a while. Now is the best time I think in Legends history to play things that died a lightning bolt. So pop out those Markarth Bannermen and Quinwall Burglars, gang.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Elder Scrolls Legends cop.
Yeah,
We do need to make a video at some point. We could probably collaborate in a way that like you film your parts, send them to me, and we like edit it together here.
yeah. Or we could just have an excuse to have me come out. I got really bummed. I saw there's another thing floating around about like, are any of the content creators going to TwitchCon? and
Oh yeah.
I desperately want to attend this year, but I just can't. Not only
Where
do
is TwitchCon?
it's in California, but like I don't have the funds, and I'm not even sure that I'm gonna have the time because I don't even think I get bereavement time at the
Okay.
state job. So
Yeah.
the days I've missed this week, I think are gonna drain pretty much most of my personal time between
Okay.
the like funeral and all that stuff. So I would really love to go though. I'm gonna maybe try for next year. The problem is like I said, like this is my hobby, so like I just don't have like money or funds or stuff set aside for that. But I would have loved to have went. But I'd also love an excuse to come out and see you and see the guys from Direwolf too. It's just
That'd be sweet.
finances.
I understand. Um. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've taken one vacation day this year, and that was I took the eclipse when the solar eclipse happened. I took that day off, so I have plenty of time to go do things. But I just I don't know. I like to work, so
Yeah, I wish I could say that all my like vacation days go to fun stuff, but in truth,
right.
9 out of 10 times it's either stuff like it's been this week, or it's
Yeah.
been for like my kids, right? Like kids events, or
Yeah.
my kids are sick, or like I'm sick from my kids, because I used to be like a beacon of health, man, and then I had kids, and they just bring everything home,
Oh yeah, man.
like clockwork too. Like I can tell you, like first 2 weeks of September, first 2 weeks of January, every year I get sick because that's like when the kids go back to school, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I sometimes when I see my niece, like I can just whenever I see my niece, actually, I can count on getting sick. Drew in Korea asks how many vacation days I have per year. I have 2.5 weeks paid vacation every year.
Yeah, I think that technically my accrual rates for my job at the state right now equal, I think, like 3 weeks of vacation a year. I don't know,
Yeah.
because like it's it's weird. I just moved to that job. I used to work at a different nonprofit like education thing, and I started working for my state government in June, and I legitimately, like, I know I get accruals per paycheck, but like I don't remember what it is now. But
Yeah.
I think it's like around like 3 weeks a year roughly.
Yeah. I will say though, like, yeah. Well, no, I mean I'm salaried, so like, if I get my work done and I see the clients I need to see, like I can come in one day in that week. But
Oh yeah, like I used to be salary, but at the new job I'm not.
right. So yeah, paid vacation is just sort of what they call it. They're just like you can take 2.5 weeks to fuck off and do whatever. But then like if I want to leave at noon or I don't want to come in, like they don't care. So
Yeah, no, my old job was like that, but the state is. I'm not like part of the union or anything, but my work rights are basically like whatever the union negotiates, they just give to my work group. So I'm like
yeah,
union without being union, I guess, and they're really big on their like hours of accrual and time and blah blah blah. So
right.
yeah, I think we can take unpaid leave, though I think in my first year it's typically frowned on, but then even still, like, can I afford to take unpaid leave? Like, one of the reasons that I work the 3 jobs I do is like 2 of them are like to pay the bills, and then I do teaching just because I enjoy it, not because I make a lot of money, that's for sure. But my wife is staying at home, so like she used to be a preschool teacher, and when we had kids we had that talk of can we, do we want her to go to work to basically just pay for daycare, or and then like have somebody else watch our kids, or does she just want to like stay at home with the kids? And we decided that that's what she was going to do. So I work 2 jobs so that my kids can go to a good preschool and so that my wife can stay at home, but that also means not a whole lot of disposable income. So
You're a good man, Charmer.
Kaniak says that he saw Romanesco in 22 games in a row last night with a mage deck. I'd believe that. Mage is really strong. I've had nights. I don't think I've ever hit 22. I had a night that I hit 19 in a row. I remember
Nice.
really specifically, but I don't think I've ever hit 22 in a row.
There were times like when open beta first happened where I won. I think maybe I mean I don't want to get ridiculous here, but I think I probably lost like 2 or 3 games at most on my way to legend. It's been a long time since that happened though.
Yeah.
I don't know. The funniest win streak I've had recently was like a month and a half ago when I took mono yellow Jarl Balgruuf onto the ladder and won 5 in a row.
The very first time I ever played Pilfer Monk, and keep in mind this was like after I'd been playing for a year.
Yeah.
Because I just never opened Master of Thieves. So
Right.
one night I broke down and I was like, whatever. I've never played it. We're just going to play it. I know I'm going to lose games because like it's Pilfer Monk, but whatever. We're going to play it. I crafted the stuff to play it and I won my first 5 games.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Because that's because I kept drawing the combo. And then, like, after that, it returned to, like, oh yeah, this is why Pilfer Monk isn't viable. But for those first 5, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, Thieves' Den Master of Thieves is a lot of fun, but you know what else is a lot of fun? Master of Thieves and Bandit Ringleader.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
a
you've
good
been
time.
you've been mentioning that. I need to make that a thing. I need
Yeah.
to make that a thing that I do.
You draw so many cards, Justin. I love it.
That's true. I do love drawing cards. It's without a doubt my favorite thing to do in the game.
Oh my gosh, just give me a support that says, like, when you draw a card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, and I will build a combo deck so hard out of that.
Yeah. What colors is that? Is that a Battle Mage support card?
I think it's definitely, like, blue, but I don't know if it's Battle Mage. I would almost think that that might be Mage. I think Mage is the most, like, rewarding for drawing cards, maybe.
Fair enough.
I mean, I know it's a Magic card. I know it's Underworld Dreams, Ray. I'm just saying in this game.
Right. I would lean towards Battle Mage or Assassin, personally. Like, I'm trying to think, like, because, like, blue can do direct damage. But I don't know, like, where does the dealing damage to your opponent fit into Mage? Is it just the card draw stuff that you're drawing off the yellow from?
Well, I think it's both that, and I also think that if you put it personally like in Assassin, I think it might almost be too good because of the amount of
Yeah.
card draw, but it might be even too good even in Mage. I like the idea of it going in something like Mage because you're not going to want to play something like that in Mage Control because you don't want to accidentally trip runes.
Right. That's fair.
Oh yeah, I guess Ozzy's right. I guess it's Niv Mizzet. Sorry, Underworld Dreams is when they draw a card. My bad. Although I'd like to see that too. I'd like to see like when my opponent draws a card. Niv Mizzet's when you draw, and part of what many infinite loops. But
Ray Barker asks, have matchmaking oddities caused issues for either of you? I played against somebody who was rank 7 today, which was weird. That hasn't happened in over a year. So I don't know what's up with that. If I've just managed to finally destroy my MMR or what.
I mean, I feel like any night that I try to seriously climb, like when I'm just like I'm gonna sit down and climb, that seems to always be the night I play against people who are not legend but are instead like rank 1 trying to hit legend.
Right.
And I always call those the high risk, low reward. Because, like, I win and I move up, like, 10 spots. And if I lose, I drop, like, 35, right? And it's only, like, nights when I'm playing casual and I'm playing, like, fun meme stuff, I get matched up against, like, Turquoise Link or Aini. And then when I'm like, I'm going to seriously climb tonight, it's like rank 1, rank 1, rank 1.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Its pen writes !drop. Thank you for your contribution. All right, man. I think we did good tonight.
I mean, I think we do good every night, but
I do, but I think we're getting better.
I think that I'm glad we had old Justin back with his big backpack to carry me.
Yeah, I sucked last week, man. But it's not like I'm great on a normal night. I was just worse last week. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas for things you want to hear us talk about in the future, go ahead and tweet those at us. I can promise you that Charmer will read them. And I'll try. But this is a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody chatting with us.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the whole reason we do this, right?
That's right. This is great.
All right, gang. I'm obviously gonna still stick around afterward, like always, but we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap up the cast here. So, you know, love you guys. May you walk on warm sands. Justin will say, "See you on the ladder."
I'll see you in the gauntlet, guys. You're all toast.
Did I just shadowfoot your sign off?
You did, dude. Now I'm gonna take 1 damage.
Oh. All right, night, guys.
Peace.